I have the opportunity now to ask you about Iran. There are latest developments, I think very positive developments during the night that we received, that there is a ceasefire. What can we know more about the latest developments in the Middle East?
Yes, that's why I was a little late this morning. I was up very late last night and talking about that. Look, I do think there are good developments here. And let me just say a few things. First of all, what the president set out to do was decimate the Iranian military, decimate their ability to wage conventional war. And that military objective, as the president said yesterday, as I said yesterday, has been achieved. And because of that, what the president did is he basically issued an ultimatum to the Iranians. He said, open up the straits, stop trying to hold the world's economy hostage, and we'll engage in a ceasefire. And that's exactly the agreement that we came to last night. The Iranians have agreed to open up the straits. The United States has agreed to stop attacking. And that, not just the United States, but also our allies, have agreed to stop attacking. And that is the basis of this fragile truce that we have, which is now, 8 to 12 hours old. Now, here's what I'll say about this. I've learned a lot about the Iranian system and a lot about the way the Iranians negotiate. As the president told me last night, the Iranians are better negotiators than they are fighters. I'm sure they don't like to hear that, but it's true. But here's a couple things. So, one, just in the response that we've seen from various segments of Iran, you have on the one hand people within Iran who have responded very favorably. The foreign minister who said, look, we agreed to the United States' terms. We'll do a ceasefire, we'll do a negotiation, we'll open the Straits of Hormuz, and then we'll see if we can come to more agreement down the road. So some of the people have responded favorably and have said the right things. And then you have some people on social media within their system who are basically lying about what we've accomplished militarily. They're lying about the nature of the agreement. They're lying about the nature of the ceasefire. And so you have just, even within their system, and this is why I say this is a fragile truce, you have people who clearly want to come to the negotiating table and work with us to find a good deal. And then you have people who are lying about even the fragile truce that we've already struck. And that's just an interesting thing about their system. And the final point that I'll say about this is the President of the United States has told me, and he's told the entire negotiating team, the Secretary of State, the Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, he said, go and work in good faith to come to an agreement. That is what he has told us to do. If the Iranians are willing, in good faith, to work with us, I think we can make an agreement. If they're going to lie, if they're going to cheat, if they're going to try to prevent even the fragile truce that we've set up from taking place, then they're not going to be happy. Because what the president has also shown is that we still have clear military, diplomatic, and maybe most importantly, we have extraordinary economic leverage. So the president has told us not to use those tools. He's told us to come to the negotiating table. But if the Iranians don't do the exact same thing, they're going to find out that the president of the United States is not one to mess around. He's impatient. He's impatient to make progress. He has told us to negotiate in good faith. And I think if they negotiate in good faith, we will be able to find a deal. But that's a big if. And ultimately, it's up to the Iranians how they negotiate. I hope they make the right decision.
So if you have been under any sort of mind meld from the liberals or the media, one and the same, even the panicants, that somehow this was a taco moment, Trump always chickens out. If you're one of the people in the poll who thinks that Trump caved, you're an idiot. There's no other way to say it. You are a moron. There was no caving. There was no giving in. There was no chickening out. None of that. It may be hard for some people to understand, but Trump didn't agree to anything other than a ceasefire. If you read what he posted yesterday, and if you remember what he said yesterday, we will stop bombing the hell out of you if you open up the Strait of Hormuz and agree to negotiate. That's it. All that 10 points of crap that everybody was talking about, it's a lie. It was a lie. At this point, I realize now, we haven't had a lot of people doing attacks and blowing things up, but we most assuredly have sleeper cells here in America. Those sleeper cells are Alex Jones. Those sleeper cells are people like, the other Panicans, Megyn Kelly. Those sleeper cells are the media. Those sleeper cells are the Democrat politicians. They're the ones who are causing all kinds of attacks on America. They're the ones who are trying to hurt America. They couldn't even wait within like 10 minutes. And the barrage started, the constant attack. Jimmy Kimmel, everybody, oh, Trump cave, taco, taco, taco. And here we are, not even 24 hours later, and the dust hasn't really even cleared. And I don't know who that is, everybody online is talking about Trump caved. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. People with smart minds have to understand at this point that nothing has been agreed to. The only thing that is happening is a 2-week, maybe 2-week ceasefire, the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and then we'll have some negotiations. I wonder how many of you, before you logged on this morning, thought, yo, he agreed to everything. No, nothing was agreed to. In fact, I'm going to show you some of his posts to prove to you nothing was agreed to. It take you back a second here, and this is what President Trump posted. A big day for world peace. This is yesterday at midnight or so. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Likewise, so has everyone else. United States of America will be helping with the traffic buildup. There'll be lots of positive action. Big money will be made. Big money will be made. Big money will be made. Yesterday, I actually posted that a few times. I love this ceasefire. I love everything about this ceasefire. Why? Because everything went vertical. And that was at midnight. This was at midnight, and he told you at midnight, big money will be made. You see, if you keep that in your foremind about the prosperity that this president is trying to create for people, he tells you. As soon as that came out, I don't know where you were, but I was up and I was making buys in terms of, here, get some of that, get some of this, get some of that, because I know where the puck is going. I understand that for the time being, at least, the markets are almost vertical. Meanwhile, everybody was out there on X and Facebook and everywhere else trying to decipher things and wonder what was happening, and they didn't know. Except if you listen to what he said, he told you. How many of you saw that? Big money will be made. He was telling you what was about to happen at midnight, 12:01. The clock turned. Big money will be made. And I'm sitting here looking at Twitter, and I'm Ashley and Robin, like, these people don't get it. These people just don't have a clue. They're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and they're not listening to what he's saying. I voted for the guy because I understand the moves he makes, and I understand what he wants to see happen, and so I look for his cues. And today, they are reinforcing those cues. We didn't agree to shit. You're going to find out. Mess up, going right back at it. It's amazing that to me that 10 hours ago, people were worried that he was blowing up the world. And then when he doesn't blow up the world, they call him a chicken. Which way is it? Oh, that's right. You're doing what you have to do because you're a mercenary. You're doing what you have to do because you want to destroy America from the inside. If you can defeat America from the inside, 25th Amendment, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, he's a madman. He's unhinged. How unhinged are you when you tell the entire world big money will be made? because I'm pretty sure people like me read that, saw what was happening on the various charts, saw the trends and said, oh, what should I be paying attention to? The idiots on Twitter? Or should I be looking at, what are we looking at right now? A stock market that is through the friggin' roof for the second day in a row. Second day in a row. Have you paid attention to it? Let me just show it to you. Let me just let you look at that. 1,200 points today. I forget what it was yesterday. Big money will be made. He told you. He called his shot. You know the reference from Babe Ruth, and he goes like that, I'm going to hit a home run. President Trump called his shot, told you exactly what was going to happen, told you what markets were going to work. We'll be loading up with supplies of all kinds, just hanging around in order to make sure everything goes well. I feel confident that it will. Big money's going to be made. How many of you saw that and understood that was your cue? That was your cue to get off of X, get off of Facebook, stop dealing with the mercenaries, stop dealing with the domestic jihadist, and get your shit together. Now, he's given you what amounts to a 12-day window of prosperity that could shorten or close at any time. What you have to realize at this point is they're lying to you. They're completely lying to you. If you followed his post, he spells it out. The United States will work closely with Iran, which we have determined has gone through what will be a very productive regime change. There will be no enrichment of uranium. Oh, they can't have, no, they still can't have it. And the United States will work with Iran, dig up and remove all of the deeply buried B-2 bombers' nuclear dust. It is now and has been under very exacting satellite surveillance. Oh, we're still watching you. With Space Force. Nothing has been touched from the date of attack. He's talking about back in June. We are and will be talking tariff and sanctions relief with Iran. Many of the 15 points have already been agreed to. He didn't say the 10 points. The 10 points the media was talking about is Iran's demands. The 15 points are his demands. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I'm not sure if you realize that. Then he posted this. Numerous agreements, lists, letters are being sent out by people that have absolutely nothing to do with the United States and the Iran negotiation. Complete subterfuge, complete BS propaganda. In many cases, they are total fraudsters, charlatans, and worse. They will be rapidly exposed after our federal investigation is completed. Many people probably didn't know there was a federal investigation going on. There's only one group of meaningful points in big letters that are acceptable to the United States, and we will be discussing them behind closed doors during the negotiations, not with the media. These are the points that are different. These are the points that are the basis on which we agreed to a ceasefire. That's it. That's all we agreed to, a ceasefire, a tenuous one, a very fragile one, as you just heard the vice president say. It is something that is reasonable and can easily be dispensed with. It's very much like fake news CNN last night, headlining a source that had no power or authority to write a letter claiming great authority. You would think by now people would understand and realize, stop listening to these people. They don't know shit. They really don't. Oh, my source says this, my source. Who the hell's your source? Oh, we're going to 25th Amendment. No, you're not. It got worse. And then he said this. Another counter move, in case you haven't seen this one. This is this morning. A country supplying military weapons to Iran will be immediately tariffed on any and all goods sold to the United States of America. 50% effective immediately. No exclusions, no exemptions. You're done. So if you think you're going to be some sort of badass and try to backdoor some resupply to Iran, if you think there's some way that at this point, because there's a ceasefire, you're going to help them reload, you got another thing coming. So you got this country sitting there like a busted duck in the road, basically roadkill. And he's like, no helping them. We are negotiating. You stay the F out. Now, I can't fight you, but I can do worse. I can drop a bomb bigger than anything I've dropped on Iran. I can drop a bomb on your economy. You know, the stuff that matters, money. Don't let me drop that bomb because I know I'm holding aces. I've got the American economy sitting right here. And you don't get none if you go up there and clean up the roadkill. That is my roadkill. I'll determine when that roadkill gets cleaned up, and nobody else is going to determine it. They're not talking like that on the news, but that's exactly what he did. When you read that, that's saying stay out. Stay the F out of Iran. We got this. If there's any sort of reloading or helping, we'll let you know when we need you. But for the time being, stay the F away. Don't test me. I know you'll run to Judge Bo Asperger and try to get the, tariffs relief, but I ain't gonna help you. And on top of that, one more for the road here. Where is it? This one here. Big one. The alleged statement put out by CNN is a fraud, as CNN well knows. That false statement was linked to a fake news site from Nigeria and, of course, immediately picked up by CNN and blared out as a legitimate headline. Sources say, hey, your source is from Nigeria, but somebody said it. The official statement was just released and posted on Truth. But authorities are looking to determine whether or not a crime was committed on the issuance of the fake CNN World Statement, or was it a sick rogue player. CNN is being ordered to immediately withdraw the statement with full apologies for their, as usual, terrible reporting. Results of the investigation, again, it's second time, will be announced in the near future. There was no agreement. There never was an agreement. It didn't exist. But they fell for it. They fell for a fake headline. The mercenaries fell for a quick headline. Doesn't make any sense. And I can't wait to see some of these questions that these people ask today, because they have to ask these questions to protect their mercenarious activities. They cannot accept the fact that Trump did not chicken out. He did not cave, and that, yes, we are still in control of the whole situation, and we didn't agree to anything. You screw up, we're right back at it. Now, some of you guys won't believe me for some reason. He's telling you, your president is telling you, I didn't agree to shit. The vice president told you, it's tenuous, it's fragile. All we're agreeing to is sitting down and listening. That's what he agreed to. If you don't believe me, then you don't believe the guy you voted for. And if you don't believe the guy you voted for, you probably shouldn't be here. That's all I got to say before I get into the show. Let me check in with SV. SV, you got anything else, buddy?
Oh my God, they didn't question Mr. Potato Head while he occupied the White House. I mean, make it make sense, right? Let me say something. I pray America is never attacked, because based on yesterday's reactions, half of the country would wave the white flag before the first shot was fired. I swear. They're weak as AF.
Not only are they weak, they're nefarious. they want to spread their weakness on others. They have no qualms about just putting anything out on that app called X, and there's
Right.
no bounds. I mean, I am never going to be an advocate for censorship, but I am an advocate for one thing that they're not entitled to, and that's monetization. What Elon could do very quickly is says, if we find out that you have 2 or 3 instances of complete BS, you are no longer monetized. Period.
It's fun. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's funny. Before I forget, your fanfare community. When I say yay or nay for people coming in, I've been saying. I think I mentioned this too. 90% of the people coming in, when I look at where they're from, are from Nigeria.
Wow.
Immediate denial. Yeah,
Wow.
it's rampant.
Yeah.
And they're coming in under women accounts, under parody accounts of people in the government. I mean, it's crazy. So that's the way I vet them. I look at that. If I see it from Nigeria, they're gone, denied.
It's absolutely crazy. All right,
Scam, it's a grift.
You got anything else?
Yeah, one quick thing. Let's see here. Oh, just in, President Trump takes victory lap on Marjorie Taylor Greene after Clay Fuller wins special election. He writes, I love this. Marjorie Trader Brown's, Greene turns to Brown under stress, seat in Congress has been taken over by a wonderful and talented man, Clay Fuller, who won convincingly and right from the beginning, despite many people running for that Trump plus 37 seat, and despite the stench left by Greene. Congratulations to Clay Fuller. I love it.
In all this stuff that's been going on, every time there's a seat flipped, it's 24/7 on the news, and nobody talked about what you just said. That the endorsement that Trump made in Georgia, this guy won by, I believe, like 15 points or so, and not a word. So again, who's winning? The people who are lying, or the people who are actually getting stuff done? That's pretty simple at that point. All right.
See you shortly.
I'll be back with you. All right. Before we begin, as usual, let me talk to you about today's, this segment sponsor. This would be Lear Capital. Wink, wink, wink. Things are a little bit different today. Before people were kind of worried about silver, and I've been telling you, don't freak out. It's all emotion. It's all based upon trends that at this point you should be able to see. When the president of the United States posts in the midst of war negotiations, big money's about to be made. And I told you for now a couple of weeks, a lot of money's going to be made in this 60, 90-day period. I told you that about 2 weeks ago. Everything they're trying to do is emotional. It's trying to suppress a market, but you can't keep that racehorse in the stable. The days of excessive money printing, overvalued markets, and global unrest have caught up to the globalist elite. You can see it yourself. Instead of pulling back, now is the time to do your research. I've been trying to give you as much research as possible to understand how trends go. Keep your eyes open, look at those trends, and get yourself some information from my friends at Lear Capital. I'm looking to get Kevin Demerit back on here as soon as possible to see if he's got a crystal ball of sorts to say what's going to happen. A, if the ceasefire holds, and B, what do you foresee happening if the ceasefire doesn't? You see, experts are still predicting $6,000 gold and $150 to $200 silver. Everything you're seeing, and now you can actually hopefully understand it, is being driven by geopolitical uncertainty. The inflation concerns, a perceived weakening dollar, and not knowing what the hell is going on in the Middle East. By the way, you have to keep remembering that all this oil from the Straits of Hormuz has nothing to do with us. I don't think enough people understand how we're getting hosed at the gas pump. That's not even our oil that's causing the problem. So is it time for you to buy some gold or silver? That's a decision you're going to have to make, but you should do it with education. And if you call Lear Capital, they'll help you by getting you the most accurate, timely information available in order for you to make an informed decision. So call the best in the business and a company Robin and I personally trust. Call Lear Capital. It's a free call. There's no obligation to purchase, just education and information on protecting and growing wealth with gold and silver. I'm sure there's many of you out there that have not called for whatever reason. Now's your time. Give them a call. They'll even walk you through shifting some of your money sitting in a retirement account over to physical gold and silver. Stay away from this contract stuff. Actually get the actual coin. Where's my display coin here? It's around here somewhere. I don't know what I did with it. I don't know what I did with the $1,000 coin. Oh, here it is. There it is. Physical. This is what you want. You don't want paper. Paper goes away. So it's easy to do. I've been extremely satisfied with Lear's knowledge, service, and their prices. I urge you to give them a call today and learn more at 800-601-5430, 800-601-5430, or go to learberry.com to learn more. All right, let's get on with the show. 30 minutes in.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
I forgot to rewind my timer and everything, so that was a little off. They've got the camera up inside of the press conference room, so I'm just waiting for her to come up, and so we can put it on. I don't want to get into another segment while we're waiting for her to come on, because then I'd have to stop. So what I'm going to do in the interim, because I can stop this at any time, I don't know if you guys, it's 12:58. I'm wondering right now, is she going to be on time or is she going to be late? Because I don't want to get into another segment, but I think I might have to jump into this. But what I'll do is, let's do this. Let's look at yesterday. There was a a press conference with Todd Blanche. Todd Blanche is the new or interim attorney general, and Todd did his first press conference since he's been the attorney general, and I want to show that to you. And then after that, after everything, I have a couple more segments, and then after that, we're gonna also look at Pete Hegseth, who talked today and had his first press conference. So let's go ahead and listen to Todd Blanche.
She is a great friend of mine, a great friend of the president's, and has been a great patriot to this country. Over the past 13 months, Attorney General Bondi did an incredible job tackling violent crime, drug cartels, and reforming this department. Our streets are safer because of Pam's vision and her commitment to justice. It has been an honor to serve with her, and I know that what she has coming up next, we will continue to hopefully be able to work together. Every day, Department of Justice investigators and prosecutors work to punish those who commit fraud. For example, just this week, and it's only Tuesday, a criminal defendant was sentenced and the department obtained 2 additional guilty pleas in matters totaling over $500 million in healthcare and COVID fraud. If you think about that, just since yesterday, we had a guilty plea in a $160 million healthcare enrollment fraud scheme and a sentencing in a $100 million COVID-19 fraud and a guilty plea in a $160 million healthcare fraud scheme as well. Each of these cases represents countless hours of dedication from the prosecutors and the federal agents and local law enforcement who work them. The Department of Justice is holding criminals accountable for stealing over $500 million from taxpayers. And across our U.S. attorney's offices, all over this country, we currently have over 8,000 fraud matters underway. Unfortunately, as you've heard a lot about recently, because it's true, these cases represent a fraction of the fraud ripping off our country every day. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump, this department, working closely with the task force to eliminate fraud, is supercharging efforts to take down every fraudster and bring them to justice. I want to thank the Vice President and Anti-Fraud Task Force Chair Andrew Ferguson for their focus on this issue and for empowering this department to go after criminals who steal from the government like never before. Our goal is to prevent this from ever happening again. Because of this administration's leadership, fraudsters, scammers, tax cheats, or anyone who lies to get rich off the generosity of the American people should be on notice. Now, this isn't new for this department. We have a storied history of combating fraud and bringing criminal actors to justice. But the department has never adopted a comprehensive and coordinated approach to investigating and prosecuting fraud against taxpayer dollars and taxpayer-funded programs. With over $1 trillion at stake every single year, threatened by increasingly sophisticated and
Looks like that ceasefire, they broke it already.
Which some negotiation can continue. There has been a lot of reporting about what Iran may have been sticking to that appears to be in conflict with a lot of the president's red lines that he put in place at the start of all of this, including, control of the strait, future of enrichment. So we really do need to hear from the White House what has been agreed to, and also get their reaction to this news that just came across the wires that Iran is reportedly closing the Strait of Hormuz in response to Israeli attacks in Lebanon. You had the statement from the Iranians claiming that the ceasefire also applied to that fight. And the president, in a few calls he's had with reporters, indicating that that's a separate skirmish and doesn't apply. He also had put out word this morning in an interview with a network that perhaps the U.S. and Iran would go into some sort of a joint venture controlling the strait after Iran indicated that ships that pass through need to coordinate with their military. We need to know who those ships belong to that already went through. Who are they flagged with? And does that represent truly something that can give these oil companies confidence enough to move their ships through the strait? We also know the president has a meeting today with the NATO Secretary General. He's got a very tough mission today to try to talk the president off the ledge. He's been very critical of this alliance, given their hesitation to get into the fight and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He has not held back his criticisms of this alliance, and neither have other administration officials. You've heard Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, indicating that potentially this alliance may have sort of run its course with its utility. stability if the U.S. is not going to get use out of the bases that it maintains in Europe and other parts of the world, that it's a one-way street, potentially, in his words. So Mark Rutte is here today to sort of shore up that relationship with the president. And so far, it is still closed to press, but we always hope that something will open up. But to begin, we'll get some clarity from the press secretary today when she addresses this very packed room. Guys.
We are awaiting that. Jackie, thank
you. Oh, well, that was pretty short-lived. We didn't even get 24 hours in, and these nutbags are out there trying to poke Trump in the chest. Now, understand, this is something really important to understand. He doesn't, and nor will he, give them any chance to say, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? Are you announcing you're going against the tentative agreement already? Okay, boom. I wouldn't be surprised, since it's, 8 o'clock at night over in that part of the world right now, that sometime about, 4 hours from now, which would be about 5 o'clock our time, would be midnight over there, things start blowing up. Karoline, you got a big press conference ahead of you. We're waiting for her to come out right now.
Fraudsters. The time for this comprehensive and coordinated approach is now. And so today I'm proud to announce in greater detail the creation of the National Fraud Enforcement Division. Its core mission will be to zealously investigate and prosecute those who steal taxpayer dollars and rip off the American people. Our vision is to build a robust fraud-fighting squad capable of investigating and prosecuting the full spectrum of fraud against taxpayer dollars. We are going to staff this division by some of the department's best prosecutors, bringing together experts in healthcare fraud, tax fraud, benefits fraud, and corporate fraud under one roof with one mission: to protect the American people from fraud. Every U.S. Attorney's Office across the country will also be joining this re-energized fight against fraud. This means, in pure numbers, that there will be an additional 93 prosecutors in every district across the country devoted to the mission of combating fraud with the National Fraud Enforcement Division. To the attorneys and staff who join this new division, you will have the entire department's support as you work to protect the financial integrity of our entire government and the tax system that supports it. We will spare no resources in giving you the tools that you need to bring strong cases and do justice. The new division will bring together data and investigators from across the entire government so that you can track down even the most sophisticated fraudsters and hold them accountable. For example, today I am directing the department to establish the National Fraud Detention Center. This fraud detention center will be a permanent, prosecutor-led, multi-agency data analytics team working to ferret out the most harmful actors defrauding federal government programs. So to the fraudsters who seek to take advantage of our nation, let this be a warning. The department will investigate you, we will charge you with crimes, and we will ensure that you are punished for your actions. The American people deserve an end to the crisis of fraud, and there is no better prosecutor to lead this mission than newly appointed Assistant Attorney General Colin McDonald, who's standing to my left. In the words of President Trump, he is very smart, tough, and highly respected. Colin is a veteran prosecutor who has spent his entire career as an assistant United States attorney in the Southern District of California. During his time in the Office of the Deputy Attorney General, he championed public safety and law enforcement, and I am confident that the National Fraud Enforcement Division and the entire department will benefit from his experience and his total commitment to justice. I expect there will be more to come in the next days and weeks from Colin and the Anti-Fraud Task Force, but I wanted to tell the American people today what this department is doing to comprehensively attack the fraud crisis in this country. Thank you. I'll take a few questions.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Attorney General. President Trump has made no secret of the fact that he wants to see his perceived political enemies prosecuted. So now that you're in this position, how are you going to balance that relentless pressure with this administration's promise to end the weaponization of this department?
Well, look, first of all, we have thousands of ongoing investigations and prosecutions going on in this country right now. And it is true that some of them involve men, women, and entities that the president in the past has had issues with and that believe should be investigated. That is his right, and indeed it is his duty to do that, meaning to lead this country. And so I do not view this as pressure. I do not view this as something that is going to keep me up at night, except to make sure that we are investigating every case that we have to the fullest extent of the law and using all the resources we can. And when you talk about weaponization, and it's become a word that is supposedly that when we talk about ending weaponization, as if that's a bad thing for us to do. Okay, people in this room for 4 years, some of you, same people, sat here with the last administration when you saw a weaponization of this department, the likes of which had never been seen in history. And some of you are looking down now. And I get it, because you had a president who was indicted 4 times by this department. You had a president who along with this department, had assistance. So this department helped 2 other local DAs go after the president. You had this department who stood idly by while states tried to keep President Trump off the ballot. Okay, that's what happened the past 4 years. And so when I'm asked questions or when I see reporting about shock and awe at this supposed weaponization of this Department of Justice, it means nothing to me because it's completely false. What we're doing and what we've been doing for the past 14 months is changing this department.
So in case you guys did understand what he was saying, look, immediately in his first press conference, the media is like, you're not going to go after his opponents, right? You're not supposed to do that. You have to let things be as they are. And he's like, no, BS. You stood idly by for the last 4 years as they tried to destroy this man. And now all of a sudden, it's something that shouldn't be done. I'm surprised this didn't get more press because to their faces, he's saying, no, we're coming for you. Wow.
It's changing this department. We're no longer, people say the president wants to go after his political enemies. No, the president has said time and time again that he wants justice. And if you look at what happened to him, his family, his administration, the agents that protected him, people that happened to just walk by him on a given day, they got subjected to massive investigations by this department. So I understand the question, and I understand the pretty constant role of the media that somehow this department is weaponizing itself, but it happens not to be true. We have tens of thousands of prosecutors all over this country putting bad guys in jail. Okay, that's something that wasn't happening like it should have been happening for the past 4 years. That's going to happen tomorrow, and it's going to happen in the coming days.
Yeah, he's coming for you, which is what the plan was, obviously, all along. That is pretty impressive.
She lost her job, though, because she was not successful in that pursuit.
You read the same exact communication from the president that I did. Pam Bondi is a trusted friend of President Trump's, will remain so. And no, nobody has any idea why the Attorney General is no longer the Attorney General and I'm the Acting Attorney General, except for President Trump.
He had the chance. They asked him head on. She was removed, fired. He's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean fired? Nobody, none of you have any idea what move he just made. Excuse me. See if I can pat myself on the back there. Again, the mercenaries in the media crafted a narrative that she was fired. And he just said the same thing I said to you. The man who makes the decisions didn't say that. The man who is running this ship did not say that. And so, of course, me sitting at this podium, I'm not going to say that. So I hope their PP shrunk up and their sphincters got tight, because now they have secondary confirmation that she wasn't fired. And as he told them, he was actually telling you, and he was actually telling everybody on X. None of you, me, you, people sitting in the press room, none of you have any idea what President Trump did. Case closed.
Two questions. One, kind of housekeeping. Since you are announced as the acting attorney general today, when is Pam Bondi's last day on the job? And is this a position that you would like full-time?
So there's a bunch of questions there. So I am the acting attorney general. As far as Pam Bondi's last day on the job, I'm the acting attorney general. I'm going with her. We're traveling together tomorrow to a pre-scheduled event. So she'll be with me tomorrow. We've been regularly communicating over the past several days for an appropriate transition. She is very much a big supporter of this department, like she was last Thursday morning. She remains the same, and I expect that will continue. As to whether or not I want this job, I did not ask for this job. I love working for President Trump. It's the greatest honor of a lifetime, and if President Trump chooses to keep me as acting, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate me, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and I go back to being the DAG, that's an honor. If he chooses to nominate somebody else and asks me to go do something else, I will say, thank you very much. I love you, sir. So I don't.
And there were people doubting him. There were actually people in the media saying that he was bad. And the guy, I love you, sir. Whatever you want me to do, sir. You want me to take a bullet, sir? Speaking of bullets, this press room is packed. And I'm wondering, with the developments that are happening right now that I got to bring you up to speed on, we're at 1:16. She's 15 minutes late. I think I know why she's late. And I would not be surprised if President Trump walked out into this room today. I wouldn't be surprised if Pete Hegseth walked out into this room today. Shit's breaking off. All right, let me, it's funny. I'm looking at this post on X by a guy who supposedly, is, authoritative. And he just posted, and I quote, a White House official says the 10-point plan by Iran publicly released is not the same plan Trump called a workable basis. That was 9 seconds ago. I started the show telling you it was bull crap. Now, yeah, Trump said there's only one group of meaningful points acceptable, but they won't say what they are. Those will be discussed privately over the next 2 weeks. And, here's this guy from the New York Times 2 minutes ago. Wait a second, everything that you saw the last 24 hours is bullshit. Two minutes ago, I started the show with it. Hey, guys, it's all BS. And now the media has to have a mea culpa. Yeah, we lied. Everything we said for the last 14 hours is a lie. Lie. Complete lie. But then it gets worse. And, it's one of those things where you don't know who to believe. So you don't believe anybody unless President Trump says it. This one. Iranian media claims the United States has begun violating this. I love how this was flowery said by the Iranians. Iran says that the United States is violating and is now bombing Iran. Did Trump breach the ceasefire, or the members of the Iranian government trying to sabotage the ceasefire? Maybe you asshats shouldn't have been talking the way that you were talking yesterday. Maybe you shouldn't have said that President Trump agreed to all their crap. Maybe you should have shut the F up and wait till President Trump told you what was going on. Now you're doing all the cleanup in aisle 6 here, and you don't know what's going on. And meanwhile, you do have this from Iran. Iran is now saying, hey, an attack on them is an attack on us. I didn't see anybody heard about Hezbollah being a part of some ceasefire? I didn't see nothing. Did you see President Trump talk about Hezbollah? No. Now all of a sudden, Iran's like, if you mess with Hezbollah, you're messing with us. He said IRGC is preparing a heavy response to the brutal crimes. Don't be surprised again, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock tonight, do we see some big booming. President Trump's sitting back looking at this going, these rats don't understand. They only understand pain. It's like a bunch of truant kids. Hey, mom's got to go to work today. You guys stay here and do your lessons and clean up the house. And they wait till mom drives off, like party time, oh, drinking. Yeah, I did that when I was a kid. Then mom doubled back and caught me. You ever do that when you were younger? Have a party with the kids because mom and dad were on vacation or out to dinner or something, and then they doubled back on you. You're like, oh, you're in big trouble. Well, right now, I think we're about to see Trump double back on these people. So that's why she's probably late, because we don't know what the heck is going on. So let's continue with Todd Blanche on the spanking he's given these people.
I don't have any goals or aspirations beyond that.
And then just a quick question on fraud, sir. CBS has done a lot of reporting on hospice fraud specifically. What are you doing to clamp down on that? Who exactly are you targeting? Doctors, owners, when it comes to hospice fraud specifically?
Yes. Exactly. I mean, everybody that participates in it. I mean, you see those, that fraud is the question was about hospice fraud. And that's the purest form of stealing from the American people's pockets, in that it is a lot of money designed to help the most vulnerable among us. And so, you know, who are we prosecuting? It depends on who's committing the crime. If it's the doctor, it's the doctor. If it's the hospital organization itself, fine. If it's the families of the patient, fine. Yeah.
There's been a lot.
Behind you, sorry.
Thank you. How will you lead this department differently than your predecessor, Attorney General Bondi? Have you had any discussions with the president about what he wants you to do differently?
So I will never talk about any communications I have with President Trump. How I will lead differently, I'm not comparing myself to Attorney General Bondi. I'm going to lead the way that I've been leading as the Deputy Attorney General, which is a job that requires obviously the same type of leadership I need to have now. So.
Question on fraud, real quick. I know this position was created differently, this AAG for fraud, by the White House. Will the prosecutors working in this newly created section, will they have a different chain of command? Will they be reporting to the White House or to the Department of Justice?
No. I mean, the Department of Justice prosecutors and support staff that are in the new division are going to report to this man right here, and then this man reports to the Deputy Attorney General and the Attorney General. So that's the way that every prosecution and prosecutor in this country works, and will continue to work.
Quick questions. One on weaponization. Where does the weaponization working group's work stand? Will there be reports coming out of that? Just give us a general update on that. And then, secondly, I just have a question on fraud.
So the work is ongoing and has been ongoing for 14 months now. There's been there's been a lot of results already from that work, if not in written work product. I expect you will see written work product on some parts of the work that's been accomplished very, very soon.
Is that driving criminal investigations further?
I'm not going to talk about criminal investigation, what's driving it or not driving it. Go ahead.
Christine Noem, there's been a lot of questions about the firm tied to Christine Noem and the ads that came through that was over $200 million in taxpayer money. Is that something that would fall under the purview potentially of this new fraud unit?
Well, when you say there's been a lot of questions, you mean you all have decided to write a lot about it, hoping that it generates something. So again, I'm not talking about ongoing investigations. If you know the new fraud division and what it will, the types of cases that it will encompass is pretty broad. But I'm not going to link it to some speculative idea or a question. Yeah.
Acting Attorney General Blanche. My question is this: a number of military and legal scholars have raised questions about bombing a nation's, all of its bridges, all of its energy structure as possible war crimes. What is DOJ's analysis of that position, and could you give us a sense of what you're advising the White House?
We support the Department of Justice, as it always does, supports the Department of War, the White House, Department of State to the extent that's involved, and our intelligence communities to the extent that that's something that's appropriate. And we provide counsel to them, and we have been doing that as you would expect. Go ahead.
You said earlier that this Department of Justice has indicted President Trump 4 times. Can you explain what you base that statement on? Because obviously you now run this department. Are you basing that on your experience as a defense lawyer for the president, or are you basing that on
I read it in what you wrote. What kind of question is that? He got indicted 4 times. He got indicted in Florida, and then he got indicted in D.C., and then they superseded in Florida, and then they superseded in D.C. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not, am I breaking news there, that he got indicted 4 times by the feds? This department indicted him 4 times. Go ahead.
There's been a lot of leads been posted online about fraud. In particular, earlier this year, social media influencers have been talking about this. Are there any of those leads that have been something that have that you're not going to exclude from being part of the investigations under this new fraud unit? Particularly some of the things we saw go viral on X earlier this year.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think not just with fraud, with any crime that anybody investigates.
Good to see all of you here today. Before I discuss the ceasefire with Iran, I have a quick update from the First Lady of the United States. Yesterday marked the very first conviction under the Take It Down Act, landmark legislation that First Lady Melania Trump played an instrumental role in getting passed, that protects victims from non-consensual AI-generated sexually explicit images, cyber stalking, and threats of violence. I have a quick update from the First Lady of the United States. Yesterday marked the very first conviction under the Take It Down Act, landmark legislation that First Lady Melania Trump played an instrumental role in getting passed, that protects victims from non-consensual AI-generated sexually explicit images, cyber stalking, and threats of violence. This is a huge achievement for the First Lady, and I know the President is very proud of his wife's efforts in getting this critical legislation passed to protect America's youth. So we thank the First Lady for her efforts, and we hope that others will report on this historic conviction yesterday. With respect to the 2-week ceasefire announced by President Trump last night, this is a victory for the United States of America that the President and our incredible military made happen. From the very beginning of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump stated this would be a 4 to 6 week military operation to dismantle the military threat posed by the radical Islamic Iranian regime. Thanks to the unbelievable capabilities of America's war fighters, the United States has achieved and exceeded those core military objectives in just 38 days. The U.S. military destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, crushing the regime's ability to manufacture weapons that they and their proxies use to maim and kill Americans and terrorize the world. Iran's ability to build and stockpile ballistic missiles and long-range drones has also been set back by years compared to where it was 6 weeks ago prior to the launch of Operation Epic Fury. We destroyed the vast majority of Iran's ballistic missiles, launcher vehicles, and long-range attack drones through more than 450 strikes on ballistic missiles and approximately 800 strikes on Iran's drone launching units and storage facilities. In total, more than 13,000 targets across Iran were struck. Again, this is in the matter of just 38 days. Meanwhile, the Iranian Navy was completely annihilated. The United States destroyed more than 150 naval vessels in total, including 16 entire classes of Iranian warships. Despite once being the largest undersea force in the Middle East, Iran now has 0 submarine vessels. 97% of Iran's once massive inventory of more than 5,000 naval mines has also been targeted and destroyed. Iran's air forces are functionally and operationally irrelevant at this point, after the United States maintained total air dominance over their country for weeks on end. To underscore the significance of this, before Operation Epic Fury, the Iranian Air Force would fly between 30 to 100 flights per day. Today, that number is 0. Iran's ability to fund and support its terrorist proxies has been greatly reduced. At this point, Iran can no longer distribute weapons to its proxies in the region. And most importantly, Iran will not be able to acquire nuclear weapons. Prior to the start of this successful operation, Iran was aggressively expanding its short-range ballistic missile arsenal. Through these weapons and its navy, Iran was attempting to build a military buildup around their country that would pose an imminent and existential threat to the United States military assets in the Middle East, our allies in the region, and ultimately the free world. Iran was pursuing this dangerous and aggressive strategy for one reason: to hold the entire world hostage to its terrorist ambitions. The Iranians aim to use their expanded military capabilities as a shield around their country to continue achieving their ultimate goal internally, building nuclear bombs. But their murderous and evil plans have been blown up, quite literally and figuratively, along with their military, their nuclear program, and most of their senior leadership, including the former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Their command and control structures were also massively disrupted after being struck more than 2,000 times. Many of their remaining leaders are paralyzed in fear and no longer enjoy the freedom to move around their country freely and meet openly. Thanks to the unmatched excellence of our warriors at the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, the world has just witnessed a historically swift and successful military triumph. President Trump started Operation Epic Fury with strategic military objectives, and the United States has clearly achieved them. As we mark this progress, we also remember and honor the 13 American heroes who laid down their lives in this noble effort. I know President Trump and our grateful nation honors their ultimate sacrifice, and we will never forget them. May God bless their families. The valiant efforts of all of our incredible service members created maximum leverage for the President of the United States, allowing he and his leadership team to engage in tough negotiations over the past couple of weeks that have now created an opening for a diplomatic solution and long-term peace in the Middle East. The president's maximum pressure and the leverage created by the success of Operation Epic Fury led to the Iranian regime asking for and ultimately agreeing to a ceasefire proposal with the United States. Iran could no longer tolerate being bombed or taking the gamble of what was to come following President Trump's 8 p.m. deadline last night. Iran has agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz, and as the president said, we have received a proposal from the Iranians that has been determined to be a workable basis on which to negotiate. I've seen a lot of inaccurate coverage today from the media about these negotiations and these plans already, so let me be clear and correct the record. The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team. Many outlets in this room have falsely reported on that plan as being acceptable to the United States, and that is false. With the president's deadline fast approaching and the United States military completely decimating Iran with each passing hour, the regime acknowledged reality to the negotiating team. They put forward a more reasonable and entirely different and condensed plan to the president and his team. President Trump and the team determined the new modified plan was a workable basis on which to negotiate and to align it with our own 15-point proposal. The president's red lines, namely the end of Iranian enrichment in Iran, have not changed. And the idea that President Trump would ever accept an Iranian wish list as a deal is completely absurd. The president will only make a deal that serves in the best interests of the United States of America, and he as a negotiating team will focus on this effort over the next 2 weeks, so long as the Strait of Hormuz remains open with no limitations or delays. These extraordinarily sensitive and complex negotiations will take place behind closed doors over the course of the next 2 weeks. I would strongly advise the media against running with narratives that have no basis in fact. What Iran says publicly or feeds to all of you in the press is much different than what they communicate to the United States, the president, and his team privately. Never underestimate President Trump's ability to successfully advance America's interests and broker peace. President Trump has a proven track record of achieving good deals on behalf of the United States and the American people, and he will only accept one that puts America first. With that, I will take your questions today. I'm sure you have a lot of them. In our new media seat, we have Shane Harris with the AMAC Newsline. Shane, thank you for being here. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Caroline. Two questions for you. First, following the president's announcement of the ceasefire, if this is indeed the end of hostilities in Iran, what is the president's message to the American people about what was achieved for our country through Operation Epic Fury?
Sure. I think I just laid out a significant portion of that in my opening remarks. 6 weeks ago, the president looked the American people in the eye directly, and he told them that he launched this operation to take out the imminent threat that was posed by Iran. And that threat has now been greatly destroyed. Their Navy, their missiles, their defense industrial base, and their desire and their plan to build a nuclear bomb inside their country is no longer going to be allowed, can no longer happen, thanks to the remarkable success of Operation Epic Fury over the course of the last 38 days. That has been absolutely achieved, and now we're moving into the next phase of this, which is a negotiating period to put some fine points on this and to hopefully broker an agreement that can achieve long-term peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, and then second, what is the president's message to American seniors who have a much higher voter participation rate and they're likely to be a key swing vote in the midterm elections?
Well, the president loves our seniors across the country, and as you know, the president signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut last year, which greatly reduced taxes on Social Security for our seniors. In fact, thanks to the Working Families Tax Cut, nearly 90% of seniors will no longer pay tax on their Social Security. That's a huge win for our seniors and also for our middle class and working families across the country with the no tax on tips provision and the no tax on overtime. Next week is tax week. You'll hear a lot from the president about how his policies have benefited the American people, and I'm proud to report that the president will be traveling next week to the great states of Nevada and Arizona to tout this historic accomplishment over the course of the next week. Thank you for being here, Shane. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Iranian state media is saying that Iran has now closed off the Strait of Hormuz today in response to Israeli attacks on Lebanon. What's the White House response to that? And you just listed many military successes. I understand that. But strategically, how is the administration arguing that Iran does not have more economic leverage than it did before the start of the war?
Sure. Well, with respect to the first reporting out of Iranian state media, the president was made aware of those reports before I came to the podium. That is completely unacceptable. And again, this is a case of what they're saying publicly is different privately. We have seen an uptick of traffic in the Strait today, and I will reiterate the president's expectation and demand that the Strait of Hormuz is reopened immediately, quickly, and safely. That is his expectation. It has been relayed to him privately that is what's taking place, and these reports publicly are false.
Caroline, the president yesterday threatened that a whole civilization would die if a ceasefire deal wasn't reached, understanding that Iranian leaders have previously said death to America. But why is it appropriate for the president of the United States to use that kind of language when talking about civilian targets? And was the president mocking Islam by signing off his True Social post over the weekend, praise be to Allah? Wouldn't that antagonize Muslim allies across the world?
Well, I understand the questions about the president's rhetoric, but what the president cares most about is results. And in fact, his very tough rhetoric and his tough negotiating style is what has led to the result that you are all witnessing today. Iran publicly acknowledging last night that they have agreed or that they wanted this ceasefire with the United States because they no longer could tolerate being bombed by our very powerful and lethal military, and that they have committed to the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which the president will hold them accountable for, and it's something the administration is closely monitoring in real time.
So,
Danny.
Should the world not take his word seriously?
The world should take his word very seriously in understanding that the president is always most interested in results. And it was the Iranians who backed down, not President Trump. He said that they would face very grave consequences, as you just laid out, by the 8 p.m. deadline if they did not agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And what did they do last night? They agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Danny.
Thanks, Caroline. Would President Trump like to see Lebanon included in this peace deal? As you know, there have been increased Israeli strikes on Lebanon today with dozens of casualties there.
Sure. Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. That has been relayed to all parties involved in the ceasefire. As you know, Prime Minister Netanyahu put out a statement last night in support of the ceasefire, in support of the United States' efforts, and he's also assured the president they'll continue to be a helpful partner throughout the course of the next 2 weeks.
Is there any thought, though, that the president might like to see Lebanon included in a future date, given that it seems to be causing or potentially undermining the Iran ceasefire?
Again, this will continue to be discussed, I am sure, between the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu, the United States and Israel, and all of the parties involved. But at this point in time, they're not included in the ceasefire deal. Jeff.
Thank you. Caroline, will the U.S. take part in talks with Iran in Islamabad on Friday?
I can announce that the president is dispatching his negotiating team, led by the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Witkoff, and Mr. Kushner to Islamabad for talks this weekend. The first round of those talks will take place on Saturday morning local time, and we look forward to those in-person meetings.
What role does the president see for the U.S. in monitoring or helping with the Strait of Hormuz going forward?
I think the president commented on that this morning. We're going to continue to monitor it very, very closely. We will be helpful in any way that we can, but we fully expect Iran to do this, and the president has made that quite clear as well. It's, again, as his statement said last night, this ceasefire is subject to the safe reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Again, this was just determined last night. We understand things take time, but that's the president's expectation, and he will hold everyone to it. Sure, in the green blazer.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure, and then in front of you. But Andrew, you can go ahead.
All right.
You're not wearing a green blazer. You can...
I am actually wearing a green blazer.
It's a little brown to me, but go ahead.
Fair enough. Regarding the president's rhetoric, when the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2003, George W. Bush said in a message to the Iraqi people that the military campaign was directed, quote, against the lawless men who rule your country and not against you. Yesterday, the president threatened to destroy Iran's civilization, the entire civilization. Not the Iranian government, but the Iranian civilization, the Iranian people. The U.S. has been a moral leader for most of its history by fighting wars against other governments, not against civilizations. How can the president claim that America can ever have the moral high ground if he's threatening to destroy civilizations and not casting wars as fights against other governments?
Look at the actions of this president over the course of the past 6 weeks and the actions of our brave men and women in our United States military who have taken out essentially taken out the military of a rogue Islamic regime that has chanted death to America for 47 years, that has killed and maimed thousands of American soldiers over the course of the last 5 decades. The president absolutely has the moral high ground over the Iranian terrorist regime, and for you to even suggest otherwise is frankly insulting.
All due respect, Caroline.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
There is
just given what we've seen in Lebanon today and the increased attacks from Israel. I mean, is there any concern that Netanyahu is trying to kill the ceasefire?
The president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu last night. In that private conversation, Prime Minister Netanyahu relayed exactly what he said to the world publicly, that he supports the president and Israel remains a key ally and partner to the United States. They've been a tremendous partner over the course of the past 6 weeks, and we thank them for their heroic efforts as well. The president had that conversation last night, and that was relayed to the world publicly as well. Reagan, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I have a question for you on Iran, and I have a question on the Dignity Act as well. On Iran, it's been reported that the ceasefire was struck after the involvement of 2 unlikely factors, J.D. Vance and China. What role did those parties play in striking a deal?
Well, Vice President Vance has played a very significant and a key role in this since the very beginning. Of course, he's the president's right-hand man. He is the vice president of the United States. He's been involved in all of these discussions, and as I just announced, he'll be leading this new phase of negotiations in Islamabad later this week. With respect to China, there were conversations that took place between top levels of our government and China's government. The president has great respect for President Xi and a great working relationship with him and with that country, and he looks forward to visiting China in just a few weeks.
And on the Dignity Act, it's getting a fresh push through Congress. It would give some illegal immigrants in the country a path to citizenship. What's the White House's position on this legislation, and would the president sign it if it made it to his desk?
Honestly, Reagan, I haven't spoken to the president about the legislation, but I will have that conversation, and we'll get you our formal position on it as soon as we can. You're welcome. Go ahead.
The president suggested in an interview this morning that he would support a joint U.S.-Iran venture to charge tolls for ships going through the strait. Does the president believe that the U.S. should earn revenue from the Strait of Hormuz going forward?
It's an idea the president has floated, as you know, and it's something that will continue to be discussed over the course of the next 2 weeks. But the immediate priority of the president is the reopening of the strait without any limitations, whether in the form of tolls or otherwise.
And on the highly enriched uranium, has Iran given the administration any indication that it would simply turn over the enriched uranium, or is this an expectation the president has that he would have to send in ground troops in order to do that?
This is on the top of the priority list for the president and his negotiating team as they head into this next round of discussions. And as I said in my opener, that is a red line that the president is not going to back away from, and he's committed to ensuring that takes place. We hope it will be through diplomacy.
But have they given any indication that they would turn it over?
They have.
They have?
Yes. Trevor.
The latest news out of Iran is that the air defenses have been activated in several cities, including Isfahan, and that explosions have been heard in Isfahan. Who is bombing Iran right now?
Were those reports just as of a few minutes ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously I'll have to go back and check with the national security team. I'm standing out here with all of you, but I will do that and we will get you an answer, okay?
And just on the civilization question that we've been talking about.
And I would just add to that point, again, I haven't seen these reports. I'm not verifying them. Not that I don't trust you, Trevor, but I want to go back and check with the experts here at the White House. I would just say, and I would echo what the vice president said this morning, this is a fragile truce. Ceasefires are fragile by nature. We've seen this with respect to the 12-day war with Iran and Israel last year. It takes time sometimes for these ceasefires to be fully effectuated. And one of the results of Operation Epic Fury was we completely dismantled Iran's command and control center, which makes it difficult for them to pass messages up and down the chain. And so we understand that. I would caution a little bit of patience, but of course we want to see the ceasefire effectuated and abided by all parties as quickly as possible.
Thank you. And the American presidential administrations, going back to Ronald Reagan, have said this formulation about nuclear war, that a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. Is that still the view of this administration, given the president's comments about civilization?
I have no change in our view on that policy. Katie.
Thanks, Caroline. I'm just, given the gravity of what he said yesterday, what was your understanding of what he meant when he said, this civilization is going to be eliminated?
I think it was a very, very strong threat from the President of the United States that led the Iranian regime to cave to their knees and ask for a ceasefire and agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. So it was a very strong threat that led to results. And as the Secretary of War stated at the Pentagon this morning, it was not an empty threat by any means. The Pentagon had a target list that they were ready to hit go on at 8 p.m. last night if the Iranian regime had not agreed to open the strait, which they did. And I think that's something we should all be grateful for.
The United States is a moral leader in the world, given that
I was asked this exact same question by your colleague Andrew in the back, and I think, again, the insinuation by anyone in this room that Iran somehow has the moral high ground over the United States of America is insulting, considering the atrocities that they have, committed against military over the past 5 decades. John, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. 2 questions for you. One has to do with a statement, a joint statement put out this morning by some of America's European allies, our NATO allies. And in that joint statement, they said regarding the Strait of Hormuz, our governments will contribute to ensuring freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. What's the administration's reaction to that joint statement? Does that smooth things over when the president meets with NATO Secretary General a little bit later this afternoon?
I have a direct quote from the President of the United States on NATO, and I will share it with all of you. They were tested and they failed. And I would add, it's quite sad that NATO turned their backs on the American people over the course of the last 6 weeks when it's the American people who have been funding their defense. As you know, President Trump will be meeting with Secretary Ruta in a couple of hours here at the White House, and I know he looks forward to having a very frank and candid conversation with him.
And then secondly, in regards to this conflict, 38 days, as you pointed out, President Trump has said that there's been regime change. Has that regime change led to more freedoms for the Iranian people?
I think that's a question that's being asked a little bit too early, John, and we hope that is the case, but it's something that has yet to be seen. Eamon.
Karoline, on this question of tolling by the Iranians in the Strait of Hormuz, I've heard you talk about a number of red lines that the president has in this negotiation, but I haven't heard you say that Iranian tolling in the Strait of Hormuz is a red line. Would it be acceptable to the United States at the end of all this if the Iranians are able to charge tolls in the Strait of Hormuz?
I think the president was very clear and simplistic in his language last night in his Truth Social post, where he said that this ceasefire is subject to the free, safe, and immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. That's very plain language, and it should be taken at face value.
You mean free to charge?
Carrie, go ahead. Without limitation, including tolls, yes. Carrie.
A quick follow-up on your tolling. Why would the U.S. allow Iran to collect tolls from the Strait of Hormuz? That's not something that we've opposed for a number of years now.
Again, that's not something we've said that we've definitively accepted. The joint venture is something that was proposed by the president, but he was very clear in his statement last night. He wants to see the strait reopened immediately without limitation, and that's something we're going to hold them to. Yes, in the blue.
And second question on
family and friends in Iran. I myself am Iranian, and I've been talking to them through the blackout. One of my family members yesterday said goodbye to me. So what message should we be sending Iranians when they message me saying what should they be doing right now? How should they stay safe? Because they really don't know what to do.
I think the president's main priority, and my main priority as his spokeswoman, is to make sure that clear messages are sent to the American people, of course, which is my job today. With respect to the Iranian people, the president, has taken out the imminent threat that was posed by their military to the United States, to our allies in the region, to our forces in the region. And of course, as the president has long said, he hopes that Iran will be a country of peace, of prosperity, and we're moving into this next round of negotiations to hopefully come to an agreement with this new regime that will create long-term stability in the Middle East.
They have said that they should stay inside of their homes and also take back their country. So there's a contradiction there. So how do you address that?
Again, we're moving into this next round of negotiations with the remnants of the regime and those that we are speaking with now to hopefully reach a place of peace long-term for the region, and that includes the Iranian people as well. In the blue, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. The White House posted the statement from the Iranian government that passage in the strait will be coordinated with Iran's armed forces. As of today, who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
Again, these statements were put out 12 hours ago. We expect that the strait will be opened immediately. As I've said earlier, we have seen an uptick in traffic in the strait, and it's something that we are monitoring minute by minute, hour by hour as the days go on.
Who controls the strait right now?
Two questions. One on the deportations of Iranian officials, and then on the negotiations. Are there still security concerns about Vice President Vance being part of these peace talks, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner? And then two, given the ongoing deportation of General Soleimani's niece, does the Trump administration plan to deport more relatives or people in the families of Iranian officials that are in the U.S.?
Certainly, anyone who is here fraudulently. I understand one of the individuals who their visa was revoked by Secretary Rubio and they were deported by ICE. They had a fraudulent asylum claim. That's against the laws of the United States. So anyone who is here illegally or fraudulently is subject to our nation's immigration laws and will be removed from our country. And I know this continues to be a top priority for the State Department, working in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security. With respect to the safety of the Vice President, we fully trust the United States Secret Service to do their job, to keep the Vice President and the President's negotiating team safe. They do a tremendous job, and we fully trust them to do that.
Karoline.
In the back, go ahead.
Thank you, Karoline. The President has said Cuba is next. What's the message to the American people regarding Cuba, and what can Cubans expect in relation to this statement?
Well, look, I think when President Trump said that, and he later clarified after making that statement, that he meant the Cuban regime is bound to fall. The country is very weak. They're in a very weak position economically, obviously, financially. The Cuban people are fed up with their government, as they should be. And these talks and discussions continue to happen at the highest level of our government. I don't have any updates or announcements for you with respect to Cuba policy today. Good to see you.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary Hegseth said this morning that U.S. troops would be sticking around. Can you expound upon that, what we should expect from U.S. troops in theater for the next 2 weeks and beyond?
I would defer you to the Pentagon for any specifics on assets that have been in place in the Middle East, but take the Secretary at his word, and also the President has reiterated this as well in his own words, that we're not going to move anything immediately. Again, this is a 2-week ceasefire where we hope at the end and we expect at the end we'll have a good agreement between the United States and Iran, but in the meantime, we're going to ensure that our military is always at the ready of the Commander-in-Chief. I'll take a couple more in the back. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
On NATO, I'll take your question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Caroline. On NATO, can you tell me, is the United States still considering withdrawing from NATO? Is that still a possibility?
It's something the President has discussed, and I think it's something the President will be discussing in a couple of hours with Secretary General Ruta, and perhaps you'll hear directly from the President following that meeting later this afternoon. Thank you, everyone.
And that's it. She said, I'll take a couple more. She took one more and walked off. I had posted in the chat, and I mean this, I hope she doesn't play poker, because the face that she had and how I looked at her, they told her to go out there, smile as best you can, but we're going to be bombing the shit out of these people. Excuse my language. I think these people have tried President Trump to his very end. I think what we're going to see is very soon, tonight, large-scale bombing. She had to come out there as all of this is unfolding. They probably tried to delay it as much as they can, and they realized at this point, it's an avalanche of stuff coming out. While she was talking, I pulled down some video I want to show you. I want to show you, this is from Benjamin Netanyahu. And now Iran has said an attack on Hezbollah is the same thing as an attack on us. And she was asked a couple times, is it closed or is it open? Well, Iran has been very forceful in what they've been saying it's closed. And listen to this from Netanyahu.
The new allies in the Middle East, and I've said that the temporary ceasefire with Iran will not include Hezbollah, and we continue to strike them with all our might. Together, we have given them the strongest blow that they have suffered since the pagers. We have attacked 100 targets in 10 minutes in places that they were certain which were immune and bulletproof.
Wow. So he's not backing down. The Iranians don't like what's happened in Hezbollah. And I think we're about to see some stuff that goes boom very, very soon. Not our fault, but Israel doesn't seem to be on the same page as President Trump whatsoever. And so if they're going to keep bombing Hezbollah, and if Iran considers an attack on Hezbollah to be an attack on them, somehow President Trump and Jared and Witkoff and Rubio would have to get Israel to back off. And then you know what's going to happen. Iran is going to retaliate, and they're going to shoot something over in Israel. This doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. Whew. Wow. Wow. Like I said, I hope she doesn't play poker, because you could see through her face that she had some sort of anguish, and she couldn't say what's really going on behind the scenes in the Oval Office. It's going to be heated for sure. Let me tell you about the next half of the show. We're already an hour and a half in. I'm like, the next part of the show is brought to you by Rumble. You already know why people are moving to crypto, but here's the problem. Most wallets, a wallet is where you hold your crypto, still plugs into the same system we were trying to escape in the first place. That's why Rumble built Rumble Wallet. It's a self-custodial wallet that lives inside an ecosystem that actually defends free speech and financial freedom. And you're going to need that. No bank holding your balance, not even Rumble can touch your funds. This is your money with your keys on your terms. If you're already using Bitcoin or stablecoin, Rumble Wallet gives you even more power. Direct, fast tipping and support for your favorite creators right on Rumble without waiting weeks for payouts or dealing with random accounts. On-chain payments and assets like Bitcoin so you can move out value globally without asking anyone for permission. Most wallets stop at storage. Rumble Wallet connects your money to a marketplace of ideas that refuses to cave to censorship. So if you're serious about sovereignty, financial and digital, this is where you level up. Go to wallet.rumble.com or search Rumble Wallet in your App Store or Play Store. Download it, back up your recovery phrase, and move your money where it belongs, in your hands, under your control. Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. See the terms at wallet.rumble.com. All right, 90 seconds, and I will be right back.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So, SB, did you get the same feeling I did that she was playing some poker up there?
Yeah, so when people bluff, they tend to go. And I imagine she had a hoodie over her face and she had sunglasses on. It was a little sus. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially with everything you've been sending me and what I've been seeing, it just seems like things are about to pop off really, really badly. While she was talking, I'm sure you were looking as well. I don't see anything positive. I haven't seen one single post or nothing. Nothing seems like, oh, it's going to be okay. No, it just seems like we're one step away from things going. I mean,
yeah. Well, I see a post here 6 minutes ago from OSINT Defender. It basically says that Iran's foreign minister says that the ball is in the U.S. court and the world is watching as Israel continues to carry out extensive strikes against targets in Lebanon, despite Pakistan, the mediator of last night's ceasefire, stating that Lebanon is covered under the agreement, with Iran stating that the United States must choose ceasefire or continued war via Israel.
Now, unless I heard it wrong, she said from the podium that Lebanon was not. And so that seems, that seems at this point to be a big contention, because if they think Lebanon is, and she's speaking for the president and she's like, Lebanon isn't, then I don't, personally, I don't know how Lebanon couldn't be. What are you going to have, Iran here while Israel's bombing the other countries all around them?
Yeah, in the video I'm seeing too is being posted. You can't show it obviously, but it shows the moment Israel launched its largest strike on the city. I'm watching buildings just being eviscerated.
Looks like it looks like 9/11. I mean, and those are, when I saw the same video, that looks like a residential building. It looks like a giant skyscraper just coming down. And it's so crazy. I don't know how you're going to put this genie back in the bottle. I guess the one singular positive that I'm seeing is the stock market is still just screaming.
Yeah.
It's like everybody read his post, like, make some money right now. You got like a few days, because as soon as they start bombing again, it's going to fall very quickly. So there's people hitting the buy button and sell button and real quickly. Don't know what's going to happen. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to finish up with the couple minutes in Todd Blanche's press conference, because that was good. Then we're going to jump to Pete Hegseth. So let's finish up with Todd Blanche.
The feds or state or local, we get leads. A lot of the ways that we solve crime is from the community and from tips. And so we saw a lot of investigative journalism or just citizens that identified what they believed to be fraud. And that's the way a lot of our cases start, not just in this space. And so, yes, I expect that I think that if you were an FBI agent, you should be willing to take a tip from anywhere. So, in the back, yeah. You.
How specifically are you staffing the new fraud division?
I can't hear you.
Yeah, how are you going to be staffing the new fraud division? Like, which specific components and units are going to be pulling staff over to it? And more generally, do you have any concerns, just given the there's been a lot of discussion about AUSAs, prosecutors, and white-collar units leaving the department over the past year or being redirected to immigration cases? Do you have any concerns that you're going to have the man and women power to do the type of surge you're calling for?
So the answer to your first question is we're going to staff the new division in a combination of ways, bringing folks over that are here, using U.S. attorneys to detail their prosecutors, but they'll stay in their district, and then hiring, and so it's not limited to one place. And I have zero concerns about the narrative that exists in some of the writings from the folks in this room, from disgruntled formers and what a few disgruntled formers put on LinkedIn. Our department is prosecuting more cases than were prosecuted for 3 years, year over year, stat after stat, crime over crime. And so we can handle a lot of stuff. We can do immigration cases, robberies, drug cartels, and fraud cases. And so we're always hiring. Every administration, there's turnover. So we're no different. I think that the folks that are here, we have the best prosecutors in the world. Our U.S. attorneys are stacked with prosecutors, and they're working hard every day, and I don't think that will change. And so, no, that is, of all the concerns I have, that is not one. Back, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Cameron, Daily Wire. My question is about the emphasis on what states this could potentially be emphasized in related to fraud servant staffing there, and then what does the coordination look like with other agencies within the administration? Has HHS been in the loop? Has HUD been in the loop? Are there any particular programs outside of hospice that are major focuses?
So there's every state. So as I said, we're going to do a combination of building up the division here in D.C., but then every U.S. Attorney's Office, which necessarily means every state, and in many states more than one, will have at least one prosecutor dedicated to this effort. And yes, every single federal agency is involved in this. Where we get a lot of our cases are from the OIGs, from their inspector generals. And so we're working, I know that Colin has already reached out and had ongoing communications with virtually, if not every one of them, and that will continue. HSI will be a big partner in this effort. FBI, every federal agency already does fraud. So we're not saying, hey, can you guys start investigating something you've never investigated before? It's really, again, just re-energizing us and saying, listen, we're doing a lot of fraud prosecutions, and it's the tip of the iceberg, and so we need to focus a lot more energy and effort on that. It's nothing that we've seen before, and it will require a lot of coordination, and that's the goal. Yes.
Mr. Acting Attorney General, can you just expand on your comment that nobody has any idea why Ms. Bondi is no longer the Attorney General? It seems like it's kind of a problem if you don't know what it is the President wants you guys to be doing better.
No, that's an assumption that baked into your question that I don't know that it's true. I mean, the point is that I don't operate every day trying to second guess what President Trump or anybody else is thinking. I just operate every day on doing everything that I need to do to execute the President's agenda and priorities. And I'm not alone in that. I hope every single person that has the privilege to serve in this administration is doing exactly the same thing. So what I was commenting on, and to expand on my comment, is that I grow tired of people in the media saying why President Trump did or did do something, because President Trump's the only one that knows that. And so that was I meant nothing more and nothing less than that. That President Trump's decision for making the decision he did are his own and nobody else's. Go ahead. You got one. Go ahead, behind you.
Oh, sorry. Now former Attorney General Bondi was facing a subpoena from the House Oversight Committee. Do you expect that she will comply with that, or will this administration, will the Justice Department invoke some sort of privilege to block her from testifying? So
as everybody knows, the Attorney General and I went to the House Oversight a few weeks ago. We answered every single question asked for a couple hours. What happens now that she's the former Attorney General and there's the subpoena out there is I think I'll leave to Chairman Comer and others to figure out. I don't have an answer to that.
You won't be invoking a privilege or anything.
Excuse me?
You won't invoke any kind of privilege to block her.
No, I definitely did not say that. I said I will leave it to Chairman Comer to work out with others. I just don't have an answer for you. But I'm not committing to anything. I'm just saying I don't know. Go ahead.
You said the other day that no prosecutor is left at the Justice Department who worked on those investigations of President Trump, and you said that Kash Patel had cleaned house at the FBI. Those comments have already been cited in 2 lawsuits against the department. How do you respond to critics who say that was an acknowledgement that you guys are firing people for political reasons, career civil servants politically for illegal reasons?
It's not.
I got to jump in because you're going to love this answer. How do you respond to people who say that you've been firing people for political reasons? And as he gives you this answer, you have to remember back to the movie I keep referring to, Clear and Present Danger, with Harrison Ford, when he's asked a question and he sits in the White House. He's like, "What do you think?" Don't avoid it. Say he wasn't just a friend; he's a good friend. And watch how, I know some people don't like Todd Blanche. Watch how he takes this question dead on. Are you firing people because they went after President Trump? And
it's not that. It's much more simple than that. Look, if you were a prosecutor and you were trying to prosecute your boss, you have ethical duties as a lawyer that I think prevent you from continuing to work in that environment. And so in this case, what we saw and what President Trump went through, every single prosecutor in this department, whether you're an AUSA or working here, you have a duty to do the right thing. And so in cases where and this is beyond this press conference, but I'm happy to talk about it another time, where you had prosecutors that were absolutely not doing the right thing. Okay, and so none of those prosecutors, I hope everybody agrees that they shouldn't work here if you're not doing the right thing. And that's what I meant by that. And listen, it's been talked about a lot, but what happened the last 4 years is something that will never happen again.
What an answer. If you prosecuted your boss, you shouldn't be here. And when I heard that, I'm like, I can't wait to show this to everybody. I can't wait for you guys to see what an answer we need from a guy with chutzpah. I hope he continues to have this kind of chutzpah, but that is a smack dab answer. Are you firing people, because of political? Yeah, if they went after the boss, they're getting the hell out. Who would keep employees, essentially, who came after you, and now you're the boss? It's okay, you get to stay here. No, get out. You tried to prosecute me. Why the hell would I keep paying you? What an answer.
Put lives at risk, then we'll try to root him or her out as well. So I'm not going to talk about ongoing investigations except to say that, yes, we will always investigate those types of leaks. I'll just take one more question.
I just want to follow up on Perry's question. She had asked.
All right, here comes another one. Listen closely to the question and watch how he handles it.
About who this division reports to, and I know you said it's a standard practice, but when it comes to referrals, will the White House or the task force that's being led by Vice President J.D. Vance, will they be making referrals, and will you be taking those up? And I also just had a housekeeping question. It sounds like you're putting in like the healthcare fraud section here, you're taking parts from the former tax division, but what about like the civil components that do fraud investigations, like the False Claims Act. I mean, is that part of this too, or is this all strictly criminal investigation?
It's primarily criminal, but I don't think that we want to limit ourselves as I stand here and announce it today, because I don't want to box anybody into a corner for what makes the most sense to do, and so that remains to be seen.
But as far as the referrals go, I mean, even if you're not having an official, it's not you're not reporting to the White House, but what if the White House or somebody in the White House says we want you to investigate this state or this program? I mean, how do you handle that? Because historically, as you know, since Watergate, there's been a kind of a firewall, if you will, on criminal investigations between the White House and the Justice Department.
I mean, that.
Now, sit back. I'll rewind it so you can hear her say that drivel again. It has been reported in the media over and over again. You're not supposed to go after your opponents. You're not supposed to go after anybody who tried to punch you in the face. Oh, the Department of Justice and the White House are two separate entities where those two paths shall never cross. Okay, listen to how he answers this. I've never heard anybody, including Pam Bondi, answer this question with such finality the way he does.
Like the healthcare fraud section here, you're taking parts from the former tax division. But what about like the civil components that do fraud investigations, like the False Claims Act? I mean, is that part of this too, or is this all strictly criminal investigation?
It's primarily criminal, but I don't think that we want to limit ourselves as I stand here and announce it today, because I don't want to box anybody into a corner for what makes the most sense to do, and so that remains to be seen.
Here it
goes. As far as the referrals go, I mean, even if you're not having an official, it's not you're not reporting to the White House, but what if the White House or somebody in the White House says we want you to investigate this state or this program? I mean, how do you handle that? Because historically, as you know, since Watergate, there's been a kind of a firewall, if you will, on criminal investigations between the White House and the Justice Department.
I mean, that is the most false statement I've ever heard in my life. There is always communication between a president and his priorities and what the Department of Justice should be focused on and not focused on. That is not a new thing in this administration, although I know it sounds fun to say that it is. So as far as whether we would take a referral from the White House or take a referral from you even, yes. I mean, yes, if somebody knows about fraud, please tell us. And so if the President of our United States says, I have heard that there is ongoing fraud in Minneapolis, Minnesota, like any president before him, I hope that the Attorney General would absolutely say, yes, we'll investigate that. All right.
Oh, don't ask the question if you don't want the answer. I mean, I was stunned when I heard it, and I'm like, everybody else is probably going to be as stunned as I am, because you probably thought he was going to do the dance. Oh, we don't go after our opponents. We don't go after people who, we disagree with. And the president can't tell me what my job is. We don't have any. If he wants me to go after somebody, we're going to look at it. If Nick Shirley wants us to look at something, we're going to look at it. If you want us to look at something, you uncover some information, which every reporter there should have said, oh, that's pretty cool. If we find some dirt, we should tell you. Yeah. I don't care where we get the information from, honey. If it's credible and we can verify it, we will prosecute. It doesn't come with an asterisk saying, oh, that was from the other administration, they get a pass. Hell no. If you did bad stuff, we're going to look at it. They should have applauded that. That should have been something every single one of them took away and said, wow, this is by the book. It doesn't matter who did it. Doesn't matter what administration they're in, doesn't matter at all. If it's a crime, we are going to look at prosecuting that crime. Period. And right there, they understood, and they should probably understand, and you guys should probably understand, that has been going on in the background the entire time. He didn't create that policy. Pam Bondi didn't create that policy that he just spoke. President Trump created that policy. President Trump, get these people who prosecuted me the hell out of here. Get them gone. Fire them all. They tried to put their boss in jail, which at this point, every one of you is sitting back, yeah, I wouldn't want him there either. Is there some rule that says I can't fire him? Oh, that's right. Boasberg might change that. But other than that, this guy seems to be ready to do the same stuff. Maybe Todd Blanche is ready to do this stuff and get dirty. He seems like a kind of guy, I'll eat your face, I don't care. Pam seems a little polite. She seems like she's above the fray. She doesn't want to get dirty. He sounds, and the Luca Brasi guy he had next to him look like two guys that are ready to kick indoors and rip your face off. And I think he is, because we watched him as he defended President Trump when all those indictments came out. So for everybody on X, again, the mercenaries, and I will call them the sleeper cells, who were trying to tear him down, and they tried to influence many of you and say he's a bad guy. You know, did that sound like a bad guy? Or did that sound like a guy who's ready to go? Sound like a guy who's ready to go for me. Real quick before I get into Pete Hegseth, I want to tell you about Chapter. Medicare is confusing, and as someone who is now 65, I can personally confirm this. Keeping track of enrollment periods, understanding all your options, and making sure you're on the right plan takes too much time and energy. And between Medicare scams, corrupt agents, and bloated insurance companies, it's easy to make mistakes that can cost you thousands. That's why I'm happy I got in touch with the guys at Chapter. As you know, I'm sick right now. Well, actually, I'm not sick. It's just my throat hasn't healed yet, but I'm good. But, you got to call a doctor. Hey, I need some antibiotics. I need to get some stuff here. No problem. Took care of everything. They're actually very honest, and the only Medicare advisor that looks at every plan nationwide, helping people save an average of $1,100 a year. That's almost $100 per month. I think people might want to be interested in saving $100,000 a month. These guys won't push you to buy a plan that you don't want, and their support is completely free. I don't talk with many products that are free. This is free. All you have to do is call them, one free 20-minute phone call, and they'll tell you whether or not you're in the right coverage. So if you're 65 now or have questions about your coverage, or if you're about to turn 65, call them at 475-328-3545 to get the most out of Medicare. Most people, once they call them, wish they just called sooner. And you can get a hold of them at their website as well at askchapter.org/Barry. All right, so I'm going to finish off here today's show and show you, which now becomes even more important than it was at 8 o'clock this morning. See, at 8 o'clock this morning, Pete Hegseth and General Raising Cane, they held the press conference. And they gave out some information to let you know where they stand. And now here we are at 2:20 with everything you've seen happen thus far as the day has evolved. This press conference takes on even more importance, because what it tells you is they're not done. There's a little bit of a hiatus going on, but I'm pretty sure we are going to see something happen very soon. All right, so let's jump into this.
Iran has been a threat to the United States and the free world for 47 years. Chants of death to America, targeting our people, killing Americans, lying and blackmailing their way toward a nuclear weapon, so they thought. No longer. Not on our watch. Other presidents marked time and kicked the can down the road. President Trump made history. From the strike that took out Qasem Soleimani, to tearing up the disastrous Obama-Iran deal, to the precision campaign that obliterated Iran's nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer, to the decisive military victory we just achieved in Operation Epic Fury. No other president has shown the courage and resolve of this commander-in-chief. President Trump forged this moment. Iran begged for this ceasefire, and we all know it. As the President truth this morning, a big day for world peace. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory on the battlefield. A capital V military victory. By any measure, Epic Fury decimated Iran's military and rendered it combat ineffective for years to come. You see, in less than 40 days, one of our combatant commands, Central Command, CENTCOM, using less than 10% of America's total combat power, dismantled one of the world's largest militaries. The world's leading state sponsor of terrorism proved utterly incapable of defending itself, its people, or its territory. We untied just a fraction of our strength, and Iran suffered a devastating military defeat. Together with our Israeli partners, America's military achieved every single objective, on plan, on schedule, exactly as laid out from day one. Iran's Navy is at the bottom of the sea, whether it's the Soleimani class, their frigate class, their prized drone aircraft carriers, submarines, mine layers, sunk. Iran's Air Force has been wiped out. Iran no longer has an air defense, any sort of a comprehensive air defense system. We own their skies. Their missile program is functionally destroyed. Launchers, production facilities, and existing stockpiles depleted and decimated. And almost completely ineffective. Iran shot hundreds and hundreds of missiles and one-way attack drones at our aircraft carrier. They were obsessed with it, and they never got even close. Every single one of those shots easily shot down miles and miles away from the Abe Lincoln. They were blowing ammo into fantasy land. Contrast that with, most significantly, in last night's wave of more than 800 strikes, we finished completely destroying Iran's defense industrial base, a core pillar of our mission objective. What little they have left buried in bunkers is all they will have. They can still shoot, we know that. Their command and control is so decimated they can't really talk and coordinate, so they still may shoot here and there, but that would be very, very unwise. But they can no longer build missiles, build rockets, build launchers, or build UAVs. Their factories have been razed to the ground, set back in historic fashion. You see, had Iran refused our terms, the next targets would have been their power plants, their bridges, and oil and energy infrastructure. Targets they could not defend and could not realistically rebuild. It would have taken them decades, and we were locked and loaded. They couldn't defend against it. President Trump had the power to cripple Iran's entire economy in minutes, but he chose mercy. He spared those targets because Iran accepted the ceasefire under overwhelming pressure. The new Iranian regime understood that a deal was far better than the fate that awaited them. This new regime just happened to look at what happened to their predecessors. Their top leadership was systematically eliminated. The previous Iranian supreme leader, dead. The Supreme National Security Council Secretary, dead. The Supreme Leader Office Advisor, dead. The Supreme Leader Military Office Chief, dead. The Defense Minister, no longer with us. The IRGC Commander, dead. The Armed Forces General Staff Commander, dead. The Intelligence Minister, dead. The IRGC Navy Commander, no longer here. The IRGC Intel Chief, dead. I skipped over a bunch, and I could go on and on and on, to include the so-called new Supreme Leader wounded and disfigured. This new regime was out of options and out of time, so they cut a deal. They know this agreement means that they will never, ever possess a nuclear weapon. Under the terms Any nuclear material they should have will be removed. Any material, they should not have will be removed. Right now, their dust is deeply buried and watched 24/7 overhead. The president has been clear from the beginning, there will be no Iranian nuclear weapons. Period, full stop. Other presidents said it. President Trump did it. Operation Epic Fury. Less than 6 weeks, clear mission, decisive action, overwhelming firepower, America first, a historic battlefield victory. For decades, Iran killed Americans with roadside bombs in Iraq, using cowardly proxies to do their dirty work while they hid safely in Tehran. They struck our embassies with car bombs and attacked from the shadows, never daring to face us toe-to-toe. They thought they could bleed America with impunity. Well, they just learned the hard way what happens when you try to fight us directly. And even when they got lucky, one time in 40 days, and downed 2 of our pilots, they couldn't hold them. In a daring 14-hour rescue operation, 7 hours in daylight and 7 hours of night, both pilots were recovered safely. Not once, but twice. A daylight thunder run right up the middle of their country, boots on the ground. A midnight raid right up the middle of their country, boots on the ground. 0 American casualties. The Iranians humiliated and demoralized. We control their fate, not the other way around. That's why they came to the table. Iran's defeat is America's retribution for every American lost to Iranian terror, especially those brave troops killed by Iranian-made roadside bombs in Iraq that my generation knows so well, and for the suffering their regime has inflicted around the world. Now we have a chance at real peace and a real deal. The War Department, for now, has done its part. We stand ready in the background to ensure Iran upholds every reasonable term. And as everyone knows, nobody makes a better deal than President Trump. To the warriors of Epic Fury, I say well done. You're the backbone of our country. Your skill, your bravery, and sheer guts and grit showed the world what America is all about. I'm proud of you. We're proud of you. President is proud of you. Job well done. But stay vigilant and stay ready. To the families of our fallen, your sacrifice was in service of a historic cause, and we will always remember your heroes, our heroes. We will continue to honor them. And to our Israeli allies, thank you for being a brave, capable, and willing ally on this battlefield. The rest of the world and the rest of our so-called allies saw what real capabilities look like. They should take some notes. Our troops, our American warriors, deserve the credit for this day. But God deserves all the glory. Tens of thousands of sorties, refuelings, and strikes carried out under the protection of divine providence, a massive effort with miraculous protection. Dude 44 Bravo spoke for all of us. God is good. The chairman will now provide an even deeper military detail on the historic success of Operation Epic Fury. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being here. I want to start this morning by honoring the 13 members of our American Joint Force who were killed in action thus far during this operation. Their sacrifice and that of their families is deeply important to us, and we are grateful for each of them and will continue to mourn their loss. Their names and their bravery will never be forgotten. On February 28th, the President of the United States ordered the Joint Force to execute Operation Epic Fury with the direction to accomplish 3 distinct military objectives: destroy Iran's ballistic missile and drone capabilities, destroy the Iranian Navy, and destroy their defense industrial base to ensure that Iran cannot reconstitute the ability to project power outside their borders. Over the course of 38 days of major combat operation, the Joint Force achieved the military objectives as defined by the President. We welcome the ongoing ceasefire, and as the Secretary said, we hope that Iran chooses a lasting peace. But as Secretary Hegseth said, let us be clear, a ceasefire is a pause, and the joint force remains ready, if ordered or called upon, to resume combat operations with the same speed and precision as we've demonstrated over the last 38 days, and we hope that that is not the case. I want to congratulate and thank the leadership today at U.S. Central Command, including the Commander Admiral Brad Cooper, the Deputy Commander Lieutenant General Kevin Leahy, the Senior Enlisted Leader Fleet Master Chief Compton, and every one of the component commanders, senior enlisted leaders, and especially the staff down at U.S. Central Command, who does not get called out for any of the credit, but grinds 24/7 to help offer the options that we bring to the Secretary and the President. I also want to highlight the forces in the United States European Command under the command of Alexis Grinkowicz, who protected the western flank in support of CENTCOM. And I want to thank our partners across the intelligence community. Our ability to see and understand what an adversary is doing help us to be as decisive as we must be on the battlefield. And that includes DIA, NSA, NGA, the CIA, and the National Reconnaissance Office, and others. I want to thank the other combatant commands who have thus far contributed along the way to U.S. Central Command. This includes Transcom, Stratcom, Spacecom, SOCOM, and Cybercom, all of whom poured all in support of CENTCOM's efforts. And I want to thank, as the Secretary did, our Gulf partners who fought alongside each and every one of us every day. From the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and Jordan, all who joined us together to defend and protect our people and our assets, and who, if required, stand ready to do so again. And I want to thank my team at the Joint Staff, who work literally around the clock in order to help me offer the options that I must with the associated risks to the Secretary and to the President. They are the hardest working people that I know, and I am deeply grateful for their service. Most importantly today, I want to thank America's members of the Joint Force who've poured everything that they can into Operation Epic Fury, and their families who've worked 24 hours a day for 38 days. The Secretary and I could not be more proud of each and every one of you. And we deeply appreciate the support of the American people, who we know always have us in our thoughts and prayers, and we can feel this literally every single day. As the Secretary said, the United States has devastated the regime's ability to harm Americans and our interests for years to come. Since the beginning of major combat operations, the United States Joint Force has struck more than 13,000 targets, including in that 13,000 more than 4,000 dynamic targets that popped up on the battlefield and were immediately addressed, thanks to the exceptional command and control system and intelligence, acumen, and agility of our Joint Force. CENTCOM forces destroyed approximately 80% of Iran's air defense systems, striking more than 1,500 air defense targets, more than 450 ballistic missile storage facilities, 800 one-way attack drones storage facilities. All of these systems are gone. We've devastated Iran's command and control and logistical networks, destroying more than 2,000 command and control nodes and degrading their ability to target U.S. and friendly forces. It is, and we know this, incredibly frustrating right now to be a lower level Iranian commander trying to fight your fight. As the Secretary said, the Iranian Navy now lies mostly at the bottom of the Arabian Gulf, and we assess that we've sunk more than 90% of their regular fleet, including all of the major surface combatants, as the Secretary said. 150 ships are at the bottom of the ocean, and half of the IRGC Navy's small attack boats. Joint fires projected from the land, sea, and air executed more than 700 strikes against naval mine targets, and we had assessed that we destroyed more than 95% of their naval mines. And perhaps most importantly, we've destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, their ability to reconstitute those capabilities for years to come. We attacked, along with our partners, approximately 90% of their weapons factories. Every factory that produced Shahed one-way attack drones was struck. Every factory that produces the guidance systems that go into those drones was struck. Their missile defense industrial base is shattered, with more than 80% of their missile facilities gone, as well as their solid rocket motor production capability. It will take years for Iran to rebuild any major surface combatants, as more than 20 naval production and fabrication facilities have been damaged or destroyed, and nearly 80% of Iran's nuclear industrial base was hit, further degrading their attempts to attain a nuclear weapon. Throughout Operation Epic Fury, our joint force struck at the heart of Iran's ability to project power and threaten the United States and the region. And in order to do this, it required the service and sacrifice of more than 50,000 American warfighters deployed across CENTCOM, EUCOM, and stateside. The joint force flew more than 10,000 missions, including 62 bomber missions, 18 of which flew round trip from the United States to deliver bombs on military targets. Each of these missions was more than 30 hours in duration, and we did that 18 times. No other military in the world can do that. And it's a testament to the logistical force that quietly serves behind them. I cannot thank TRANSCOM and the Air Force Tanker and Mobility Force more. Combined with Army and Navy joint fires, we struck more than 13,000 targets. And along with our Gulf partners, we've thus far intercepted 1,700 ballistic missiles and one-way attack drones, defending our forces and our partners in the civilian population. And we remain ready to do so should the need arise. Along the way, we consume more than 6 million meals, and by my estimate, more than 950,000 gallons of coffee, 2 million energy drinks, and a lot of nicotine, but I am not saying that we have a problem. I've laid out the statistics, but it does not truly capture the nature of combat. This is gritty and unforgiving business. It's chaotic. It's hot, it's dark, it's unpredictable, and there's always unknowns. And our people proudly walked into those unknowns and continue forward. And through it all, the joint force has demonstrated the unwavering resolve that the nation demands of us. We are a mission-focused force, and our objectives always is to create the conditions for peace, and today we have, while be ready should that peace break, which we hope it is not. And we remain ready. Before I turn it back to the Secretary, I also want to quickly revisit the rescue of the Air Force fighter crew over the weekend. To give you an update, we've had, the Secretary and I have had the profound honor of speaking directly with many of the warfighters on that mission, from the downed crew that were picked up to those forces that went and got them. Hearing these stories firsthand has only deepened our appreciation for their tenacity, creativity, courage, and grit of the American Joint Force. This is a story that gets to the very heart and soul of who we are as a joint force, who we are as Americans. Selfless sacrifice in service of others. From the backseater, Dude 44 Bravo, whose pure and unadulterated joy at seeing those helicopters come into the valley to get his front seater in daylight, because he knew the front seater did not have a jacket, and was so filled with heart-leaping joy at his front seater getting picked up, to the nighttime folks that went in and then got him, to the tanker forces that did the things that they had to do to give their own gas away, to the support packages, to those that went into the desert landing site not once, not twice, but 3 times as we fought through multiple contingencies. This was and is a joint force that has the guts to try, that does not quit, and who each and every day does the things that we must to dare to win. No lives were lost. We succeeded because the Joint Force is always at the ready. They trust each other, they trust their leaders, and they trust their training. And they remember first, foremost, and always that we do these things so that others may live, and we will never leave anyone behind. The success of Operation Fury thus far, and we hope it remains, culminates with this incredible rescue over the weekend, a direct example of the professionalism and courage of the United States military and our joint force. It's the service members on the front lines, our partners in the region, our teammates in the intelligence community, our civilian leaders in the OSW side of the house, the American workers who build the tools and weapons that we use, and the American people who back us up that help us to go do these things. I stand here humbled today, but frankly not surprised by what the Joint Force has been able to do. Their performance is fueled by a deep commitment to each other, their mission, and to our country. It is an incredible, deep honor for me to be a part of this Joint Force, and I'm humbled by the service and sacrifice each and every day that I am lucky enough to see. And finally, as I always do, I ask that we never forget our fallen and their families, especially those 13 fallen from Operation Epic Fury. May we always be worthy of their sacrifice and honor their legacy. And with that, sir, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll take a few questions.
Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. First of all, thank you to our troops. What role is our military playing in escorting vessels through the Strait of Hormuz at this point? And the president said on Truth Social that the U.S. will be hanging around to make sure everything goes well. Obviously, Mr. Secretary, you just mentioned, we know the scars from hanging around in Iraq for decades. But what does that entail in terms of our military presence at this juncture?
Yeah, we'll be hanging around. We're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure Iran complies with this ceasefire and then ultimately comes to the table and makes a deal. So we'll stay put, stay ready, stay vigilant, as the chairman laid out. Our troops are prepared to defend, prepared to go on offense, prepared to restart at a moment's notice.
Yeah, that moment's notice might be tonight. I just stayed quiet, let you guys hear that. Well, as of right now, 2:45 in the afternoon, some 6 hours after Pete Hegseth said that statement, Iran says no deal. Iran says deal is off. If you don't let us enrich the uranium, the deal is off. And President Trump, as you heard from Karoline Leavitt, that was never going to be part of any deal. And so the entire thing that has been talked about, the 10 points, which she said was garbage, which was never going to be part of it, they are now saying because you won't let us enrich the uranium, the deal is off. So, ergo, your destiny is standing on stage right here.
Whatever target package would be needed in order to ensure that Iran complies. As far as the Strait, you saw the initial agreement that was struck, which is Iran's letting ships go through. So they'll be that will be happening. They will be sailing, and ultimately, as the president, we've done an incredible job militarily inside the Strait of Hormuz. What Admiral Cooper, I failed to mention Admiral Cooper's name. He's done a phenomenal job, along with everybody at AFCENT and NAVCENT and ARCENT and all the components down there, laying the groundwork for Iran. Iran doesn't have the same ability to defend it the way they did before, and so as the president has pointed out to the rest of the world, we barely get any of our energy out of the Strait, just a tiny fraction. It's time for the rest of the world to step up and ensure that that stays open after President Trump and the War Department brought Iran to the place where they are voluntarily opening it right now, as was announced last night. Yes, Jerry.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you both for the update. President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning that there has been a very productive regime change in Iran, and that there will be no enrichment of uranium, and the U.S. will work with Iran to dig up and remove the deeply buried nuclear dust. So I just have two questions here. So both you, Mr. Secretary, and the President have referred to a new regime in Iran. So is this not the regime that was at war with us for 47 years? And what do we think of when we're saying that this is a new regime? What are we thinking and what are we saying there? And then my second question is, with any future deal with Iran, is their handing over of all of their enriched uranium and they're promising not to enrich any future uranium a non-negotiable for the U.S.?
Well, it's always been non-negotiable that they won't have nuclear capabilities. And so right now it's buried and we're watching it. We know exactly what they have, and they know that. And they will either give it to us, which the president has laid out. They'll give it to us voluntarily. We'll get it. We'll take it out. Or if we have to do something else ourselves, like we did in Midnight Hammer or something like that, we reserve that opportunity. But what?
And there you go. It's never going to happen. You are never going to enrich uranium. I don't care what document they put out there. I don't care what the sleeper cell media decides to do. I don't care what the sleeper cell panicans and rhinos want to say. You are never getting your hands on that uranium. It ain't going to happen. So, in essence, there is no deal. I feel confident, even though I am not in the military, I am not in the Trump administration. I feel confident based on what they said at 2:49 here on Wednesday. No deal. Bombs are coming.
Clear what the new Iranian regime knows is they'll never have a nuclear weapon or the capability to get a path to one. As far as the new regime, you heard the list that I read. It's a new group of people who've seen the full capability of the United States military and has a new calculus about what it means to negotiate with us, hence why they came to the table wanting a ceasefire and the shooting to stop. So this new regime, which the regime has been changed, has a different interaction with the U.S. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. Of course,
I was going in front right here.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary and General Kane. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. 2 questions. Iran has said that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible in coordination with Iran's armed forces and, quote, technical limitations. What do you believe that means? And then we've also heard reports that Iran has continued striking targets well into this morning. At what point are we beyond a grace period? Are we giving them a grace period? Is there a miscommunication there? What's going on with that?
What we know is that Iran is going to say a lot of things. A lot of people are going to say a lot of things, claim a lot of things. What has been agreed to, what's been stated, is the strait is open. Our military is watching. I'm sure their military is watching, but commerce will flow. And that's what you saw the markets react to, is that reality. As far as shooting, that we were monitoring it last night in real time. Of course we are. Iran would be wise to find a way to get the carrier pigeon to their troops out in remote locations to know not to shoot any longer one-way attacks or missiles, because it takes time sometimes for ceasefires to take hold. We're watching it. We're prepared if necessary, but we hope and believe that it'll hold. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Why are you so rude? Just wait. I'm calling on people.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth.
Yeah. Why are you so rude? Shut up. Well, anyway, this was posted at 2:17, 30 minutes ago from one of the grand poobahs over there. And in it, it says, this is a statement of the violation of the key clauses of the 10-point proposal, which we've already deemed to be garbage. And it says, you can go through it and read it yourself, and non-compliance with the first clause, number 2. But number 3, denial of Iran's right to enrichment, which was included in the 6th clause of the framework. I don't know how to tell you any clearer. You're never getting the ability to enrich uranium. So if you put that in your proposal and now you're freaking out because Trump's told you it ain't happening, then they've issued a statement saying the entire thing is off. It's off. Okay, your destiny awaits.
Hold on back here. Yesterday in the president's Truth Social, he threatened to wipe out a civilization. That statement elicited a huge response in America. If Iran did not come to the table and make a deal yesterday by the deadline, was the president really prepared to wipe out Iran entirely?
Like I said, we had a target set, locked and loaded. of infrastructure, bridges, power plants. Remember, this is a terror regime, a military regime, used all of these things for dual use to fund their military, to fund their terror campaigns. We had a lot of legitimate targets. They knew exactly the scope of what we were capable of. We hit some military targets on Karg, which is a bit of a signal. They can't defend it. And so Iran ultimately understood their ability, their future, to produce, to generate power, to fuel their terrorist regime was in our hands, was in President Trump's hands. That's why they came to the table. He ultimately said, we can take it all from you. Your ability to export energy will be taken away. And the United States military has the ability to strike those things with impunity. That type of threat is what brought them to the place where they effectively say, hey, okay, we want to cut this deal. Yes, right here.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. David Zier, Real America's Voice. During the ceasefire, what do we do when we see Iran rearming, regrouping, repositioning weapon systems and air defenses? And also, have we confirmed the specific model type of air defense or man pads that took down our F-15, and is it still a threat for our patrols?
We're still working through the specific details around that particular shoot-down. And the crews, when they normally return, go through a debriefing process along with the other members of that flight that were out there. And they'll go back, as they always do, and forensically look at what are the tactical lessons learned. Did we sense or see something? Could we have done something different? We do that, as I mentioned in a prior press conference, every single time we take any loss like that, so that we become a quick learning organization. On the other part of your question around the movement of Iranian military forces, U.S. CENTCOM will continue to monitor that situation. They will continue to have a series of response options, and if need be, will come to the Secretary and to the President for guidance and be prepared to do the things that they're ordered to do so against valid military targets in accordance with the normal procedures that we have.
I would just note, it's a good question. The more Iran moves forces, the more they emplace forces, the more easily targetable they are for us right now. Remember, we're able to look, we're able to see, we're able to sense. We know so if they try to preposition, they're just creating riper military targets for us to strike should they make the wrong decision at the table. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, Louis Martinez with ABC News. First, a question to General Kane, sir. In your personal opinion, were the risks of the Strait of Hormuz being closed because of the conflict, were they mitigated early enough in part of the decision-making process to lead up to the decision to take action against Iran? And in your opinion, is Iran in control of the Strait of Hormuz? We just heard the Secretary say that Iran is letting them ships through, which would imply that potentially it's not just. The Secretary also said that the U.S. That the strait is open. You did say that, sir. But in your opinion, sir, how can the U.S. ensure safe passage? And Mr. Secretary, can you say today that the United States achieved, the administration achieved the military goals that you've constantly delineated? But strategically, is that a victory because of that? And also, you said earlier that the president chose mercy, but you yourself had said 3 weeks ago that we will give no quarter to Iranian troops. How do you correlate those two? And do you think that your comments may have put American troops at risk?
No. I try to be nice up here, but you did listen to what I said, right? I laid out the objectives. We believe we've accomplished them, and it's a historic military victory. And President Trump has the option as the commander-in-chief to compel an adversary to the table, which is precisely what he did. And at the end, he chose to say, you know what, I'd rather talk to you at the table than obliterate your capability to export oil and fund your terror regime. So he did make that choice. That was his choice. He was a president of peace, and he's been willing to make those really tough calls that the American people elected him to do. Nothing we've done, not a single thing we've done. This is a typical, of course, it's ABC. Not a single thing we've done has put an American troop in more of a harm's way. We've only set our troops up to harm Iranian military capabilities, which they've done to devastating fashion and to great success. Mr. Chairman, you had a part of that
There's a
question.
lot in that question. I'd love to take that offline and answer it, but I'm struggling to find exactly what your question was, and that's probably me, not you. Okay, all right. Sorry about
Mr.
that.
Chairman, it was an indictment framed as a question, so you're forgiven for that understanding. Go ahead, please. No, you've had your chance. Go ahead, sir.
Open right now.
Thank you very much.
I believe so,
Mr.
based on the
Thank you very
diplomatic
much, Mr.
negotiation.
Secretary.
I believe so.
It is
I
always
believe
nice
so.
to see you.
Sorry.
Mr. Kurd or Rahim Rashidi from Kurdistan. I am Representative Kurdistan TV and Kurdistan 24 today. I have two questions. Mr. Secretary, will your forces stay in the region and continue to defend and protect your allies and take the responsibility for their security? Second question is, as you mentioned many times, that you have full control of Iran airspace. Do you still have this control or not?
Well, thank you for the question. The chairman mentioned the UAE and Bahrain and Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, who have fought shoulder to shoulder with us, especially in defense of our facilities, of our people, of their facilities, and we appreciate that. So that coordination, of course, will continue. And then when it comes to the skies over Iran, I would point to Exhibit A and Exhibit B, 7 hours in the day, 7 hours at night. If any foreign adversary had attempted to do the same over our soil, they would have no ability to do so. Will they have a system here or there? Maybe. Do they have a network, a system that's capable of defending their skies? No, they don't. It's, as the chairman laid out, that's been dismantled, degraded, and destroyed. So it's a slight distinction, but an important one. Yes, right here. Go ahead.
General George in the middle of a war.
Excuse me, you got a question? Go ahead.
Yes. Two questions actually for you. So during this time, are you still encouraging civilians to rise up against the regime, or are they satisfied with this new regime change, or is this two-week period to kind of see where that leads? Also, talked about the enriched uranium going in there. Would that require special forces or other military, our service members? Who would be basically going in there and trusted to going in there to get that uranium out?
Mm-hmm. Again, on the uranium, we're watching it. We know what they have, and they will give it up, and we'll get it, and we'll take it. If we have to, we can do it in any means necessary. So that's something the president is going to solve for. We already have Midnight Hammer with the place we put them in, and the reason it's in the situation where it is. The second one was about the people. Listen, I would love to see the Iranian people take advantage of this opportunity. They have been oppressed by the previous regime, and they'll have a new opportunity with this regime that remains to be seen. That was not our objective in this effort, but they're brave people. Horrible things have been done to them by the previous regime, tens of thousands targeted and killed and assassinated in a way the government never should, and we wish them the best, absolutely. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Well, that's it. And it being 3 o'clock right now, I think you can pretty much tell what may be coming this evening for us here on American time. It doesn't sound good for Iran whatsoever. So right now, President Trump is meeting with the Secretary General of NATO. I'm sure that's going to be one heated conversation. And let me be the bearer of bad news as we have about an hour left. The stock market is dropping quickly. A little while ago it was at 1,300 for the day. Still way up, but it's only up to 1,000. So people are starting to panic again. And that's what I've been trying to tell you guys for quite some time. This is all based upon emotion, and it was way up, and it's coming down, and we'll see what happens at 4 o'clock. I want to share something with you. I can't show you the video because YouTube doesn't like that kind of stuff, but I want to show you this tweet. It says the Lebanese army is shutting down the last bridge linking the north and south of the Litani River after Israel threatened to blow it up. This is 2 minutes ago, as you can see. Israel has destroyed 6 bridges over the Litani River so far, which divides southern Lebanon into 2 parts. To justify destroying the bridge, Israel claims Hezbollah is using it as a part of its war effort. Remember, when President Trump said about destroying infrastructure, the transport of ammunition and weaponry constitutes the right to blow up a bridge. That's when all the panicans and sleeper cells were freaking out. But if they're driving trucks over these bridges, in Iran as well, they're fair game. And he concludes by saying Lebanon is so effed. Well, there's going to be a lot of people who might be quite effed over there. SV, what you got? Anything about this stuff? Because it just seems like it's not getting better fast.
No, there's a lot of noise, and I was telling someone in the chat, I'm tending to ignore a lot of it and then do a lot of research. Well, I mean, I have to because it's going back forth, this way, that way, and no one seems to really know the truth. I'm waiting to see what Trump posts. That's when I know it's actually happening. That's how I do it.
And we won't hear from him probably for, I don't know, maybe another hour because he's having a meeting right now with the NATO people. Yeah. So who knows what's happening there? It's very fluid. I don't plan on doing a show tonight because I don't think my voice is ready for it yet to do 2. But who knows? We'll see what happens.
Okay. I'll be ready if you do have one.
Yeah, because it's absolutely crazy right now in terms of what's going on. So. Well, let me do super chats and go home and drink some tea. Thank you very much for everything. Here, let's take a listen here.
Sideshow to the bigger war with Iran. Well, now the Lebanese conflict appears to have the potential to derail this entire ceasefire process. Israel went back to Beirut today, carried out 100 separate strikes on Hezbollah targets in 10 minutes. Now, that happening after the Pakistani mediators who brought about the ceasefire had said the conflict in Lebanon was part of that ceasefire. But Israel now, in its actions and its words, saying, no, Lebanon is, as the president put it, a separate skirmish. Here's the Israeli defense minister.
IDF forces continue to operate vigorously in Lebanon to ward off threats and thwart Hezbollah's capabilities, in accordance with the policy we have established. We promise to bring security to the residents in the north, and that is exactly what we will do.
Now, so I can tell you already what you're going to hear from the panicans. I can tell you what they're going to be saying is Israel is bringing us back into it. I don't see any document that says Lebanon was off limits. It sounds to me like the Iranians screwed up. They didn't put that as part of it. And now it's too late because they're blowing the hell up out of Lebanon. So we'll see what happens. Crazy times. So let me go ahead and do super chats and go drink some hot tea. Suzanne, 5%, get out. I think I know what she means. Redeem Patriot for Bibles, trust the plan and the president. God bless America and thank you. And yes, we have a whole bunch more getting ready to get shipped out. Thank you. Lele, thank you for all you do for the community. You bring truth and understanding of the things going on. I try to because I know so many people are lying. It's getting to the point where there's only one person we can really trust. That's him. I don't understand how the sleeper cell media is getting away with this stuff. Lele, thank you for all you do. You bring, okay, just read that. Thank you again. George, modern Benedict Arnolds, Tucker, Jones, MTG, pretend MAGA status. They bide their time, then they pull out the backstabbing knife. Pathetic, to quote the Gipper, trust but verify. Indeed. Marcy, thank you. And Marcy again, correct, Barry. They don't know what they are saying or doing. I literally tell everyone I know on X and the internet are not real life. Everywhere I go, everyone is happy with Trump. MAGA for life. Thank you for everything. Yeah, I mean, I've said that before. I've even said it to people who argue with me. Get off of X. Go touch grass. Talk to people in your neighborhood. I don't see nobody in my neighborhood coming and throwing stuff at my house because, I'm a Trump supporter. Crazy. Mr. Pugs, enough is enough. We've had enough. I'm pretty sure you're only going to be able to press Trump so far. You're right. And remember this, he sees all these people talking crap. He sees it all. He looks at it. So he knows that they're calling him Taco. Oh, wait a minute. Before I go much further, he also knows this. I forgot I have a video I need to show you. It's about 1 minute long. And this is the Democrat response in a nutshell. And it tells you everything that they want to do. They don't have anything in store to help you as an American, nothing to improve your life. They have one sole mission. Here it is, right here.
Obviously, Senator, the president did not kill an entire civilization last night. Is impeachment really a productive or even feasible tool at this point with Republicans in control of Congress?
Democrats must proceed with the filing of the impeachment articles. We need to work as hard as we can to put the Republican Party, which is morally bankrupt, which is spineless, which wants to be in a witness protection program, even as moral atrocities are being planned in their name. We must proceed towards the goal of removing Donald Trump from office, and we must do this now, and that has to be the Democratic agenda.
Thank you. Thank you for telling us the only thing you care about is removing President Trump. That's it. That is the Democrat agenda. You guys, I'll have to clip that and you can show it to everybody. It'll be on X. Maybe you're watching it on X right now, saying in advance, but that's their agenda. Not helping you with food, not helping you with electricity, not helping you with gas, not helping you with crime, not helping you with the immigration idiocy. Their sole agenda is to get rid of Trump. That's it. That's it. This party cannot exist. They don't have anything to offer America. And that should tell you, like I've said, if the only thing you can do is to remove your opponent off the field, it means you're losing.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
He's got these people on the ropes. They're completely useless. Losers. Only losers try to remove their opponent. Only losers try to be like Tanya Harding and break the kneecaps of the person who's better than them. That's all they have. We got to get rid of him. I'd hate to be that much of a loser. Let's get back to where we were. Wow. Lisa, no one seems to care that Iran broke the ceasefire 2 minutes after being agreed to, booming our Mideast allies. Yep, exactly. Hockey Gramps, news should breathe a bit before being reported. Bingo. 24-hour rule. Sherry Clem, hey Barry, maybe Trump's Nessun Dorma was not simply a song, but a strategy. Terrorists will be certainly on edge for the next 24 hours. When nobody sleeps, they're vulnerable. You are absolutely right. He doesn't have to go back to the negotiation table. He told him you had until 8 p.m. last night to get your act together. 8 p.m. last night. Okay, I'll negotiate for these 2 weeks, but you got to open up the Strait of Hormuz and no more bombs. That was it. Nothing else was agreed to. The sleeper cell media lied to the nation. Kelly, thank you. Luis, I can tell you over here in Italy, Iran launched 8 ballistic missiles on Qatar after the ceasefire. Tonight, I believe, will be fireworks. I believe it too. I believe after 8 o'clock this morning, when Pete Hegseth and General Kane walked off that stage, everything they've seen since then is telling me tonight might be fireworks nights. But Buddy Sanders, Iranians have been arrested for impeding IRGC troops looking for, yep, they have. I heard they took a woman out and dragged her out because she had taken off her hijab. Savages. Chiosop, maybe send Pocahontas to teach them smoke signals. He's referring to what Pete said. However you communicate, you better get it out there. Jerome, 10-point plan, 10 out of 10 is load up crap. Take Carg Island, no 2-week chances, don't destroy the oil field, capture it, no trans fees in the Strait of Hormuz, take coast of Hormuz and all the islands, game on. I think we're going to see some crazy stuff. I think the Democrats know that too. And Chiosop, before getting into panic, give news 24 hours to clear up so you can get the true facts. I only trust 2 sources, the White House and Barry. And I take that very seriously to make sure I wait and try to give you guys the right information. All right. Well, thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in. I like I said, I don't know if my voice could hold up for another, but if things start going boom, I might have to turn on. Talk to you guys for sure tomorrow, maybe tonight.
together.